Hi, I'm Mary. I'm working with my husband Samuel at his family's small business. The business, run by my father-in-law Liam, has about 6 employees. Liam is quiet and doesn't get involved much in day-to-day tasks. Instead, Samuel, who will likely be the next president, is very dedicated and works hard with clients and new projects. Everyone comes together for big projects, creating a lively and energetic atmosphere. I've been a part of this for 8 years since marrying Samuel. Recently, my mother-in-law Amanda has expressed some concerns about me being involved. When I came home early to make dinner while Samuel worked late, Amanda confronted me, saying, "How long are you going to stay in our family business?" It seemed like she was more focused on criticizing me than enjoying her retirement. In response, I kept calm and asked, "What do you mean by clinging?" Amanda jumped in, suggesting that my marriage to Samuel was just a way for me to get a job at their company and that I was taking advantage of it. This wasn't the first time she had made such accusations, and it was becoming a regular issue. When I married Samuel, I chose to leave my old job and join his family's business because I wanted to, not because I had no other options, as Amanda seemed to think. I tried to explain, "Mom, it's not that I couldn't work elsewhere. I chose to be here." But she didn't seem to understand and continued to believe her own assumptions about my reasons. The tension with Amanda went beyond just words. Even though she had promised to manage the household after retiring, she didn't help out much. Instead, she insisted, "I've worked all my life. Now it's the daughter-in-law's turn to handle the household duties." So I often ended up managing dinner and cleanup. One afternoon, I mustered up the courage to talk to Amanda about a problem that had been bothering me. "Amanda," I started carefully, "I've noticed that there are often dirty dishes left in the sink. It would really help if you could clean up after yourself." Instead of responding calmly, Amanda reacted angrily. She accused me of overstepping my role as a daughter-in-law and trying to impose rules in her home. I was worried about dinner getting delayed because of this argument, so I tried to stay calm and suggested, "Mom, let's talk about this later. I need to start preparing dinner." Amanda agreed and went to the living room, leaving me to focus on getting the meal ready. Both Liam and Samuel had seen Amanda's harsh treatment of me and tried to step in when they could, but their efforts often seemed to have little effect. When they spoke up, it usually only made Amanda more upset with me. Despite their concern and attempts to help, Amanda's words were still painful. While I never faced physical violence, the emotional hurt was significant. Liam and Samuel's support was crucial in helping me cope with Amanda's harsh remarks, but it was especially tested on one tough morning. After cleaning up from breakfast and getting ready to leave for work, Amanda suddenly shouted, "Oh my, what a mess. A trash heap here." And without any warning, she threw a bucket of water on my handbag. I was stunned, feeling a mix of shock and anger. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice shaking with disbelief. Amanda's response was dismissive and childish. "Oh, was that your stuff? I thought it was just a big piece of trash." Her careless attitude only made me more upset. "Even if you thought it was trash, who pours water on it?" I asked, struggling to understand her lack of concern. As I sat across from Amanda in the morning light, she looked cold and determined, as if she had made up her mind to take a drastic step. "What kind of reasoning is that? Now the carpet is soaked, and what about the vacuum cleaner?" I said, frustrated and confused, as I tried to dry my important work documents. Amanda, with a chilling indifference, said, "You don't need to go to work anymore." I was completely bewildered. "Excuse me?" I replied, stunned and in disbelief. Amanda's next words felt like a sharp blow to my heart. "You've been clinging to this house for 8 years, but today I can finally get rid of you." Her voice was filled with anger and determination I had never seen from her before. I was overwhelmed with sadness and confusion. "Getting rid of me?" I repeated, my voice trembling. "She made me feel like a complete outsider in this family. My daughter is joining the company, so you need to leave. Today is your last day. Just bow your head to your father-in-law and Samuel and apologize for all the trouble you've caused." Her mocking laughter only deepened my hurt. She was using my job to force me out. I had dedicated years to this role, building respect and creating memories. I was shocked and heartbroken, struggling to understand how my sacrifices seemed so meaningless to her. "Are you sure about this? Wasn't Emma working in a clothing store in Philadelphia?" I asked, confused and worried. My job was more than just a paycheck. It was important to me. Meanwhile, Emma, my sister-in-law, was apparently tired of city life and wanted to return. She said she was tired of dealing with the cold people in Philadelphia, so I promised her a job when she came back, Amanda said with finality. "She's coming back immediately, and now that she is, I want you out of this house." Her words hit me like a freezing gust of wind. With one sweeping decision, she was appending my life and dismissing my role in the family without any chance for discussion. She handed me an envelope. "I've written your resignation letter," she said, effectively banishing me from our home. In that moment, my heart felt completely shattered. All my years of hard work and dedication seemed to be dismissed as if they were nothing but scraps of paper. Amanda's actions had ripped apart the fabric of our family bond, leaving it deeply scarred. With a heavy heart, I walked the short 5 minutes to the company, a route I had traveled many times before, but never with such a swirl of emotions. Each step under the cool morning sky felt heavy with the weight of the situation. When I arrived at the office, I told my father-in-law, Liam, and my husband, Samuel, about Amanda's harsh decision. They looked shocked and restrained, but they managed to stay calm despite the chaos. They suggested that maybe stepping away for a while could show Amanda the real impact of her demands. This idea sent my heart into even more turmoil. After working so hard for the family business for years, the thought of taking a break longer than the short Thanksgiving or Christmas holidays felt overwhelming and strange. Encouraged by Samuel and Liam's supportive advice, "Why don't you spread your wings for a change?" I decided to take a short trip. As I packed, I reflected on my life, the choices I had made, and what the future might hold. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law, Emma, who was supposed to replace me at the company, arrived unexpectedly late at 2 p.m. Her careless attitude left Samuel and Liam frustrated and confused. Despite their attempts to help her understand the business, Emma seemed uninterested. Hearing this made me anxious about the company's future, even as I looked forward to my trip. I left without another word to Amanda and quickly set off. As the train moved, I looked out at the changing scenery, using the time to think about my past and future. The trip gave me a chance to take a break and reflect. While enjoying local seafood specialties, I often thought about my family and the business. On the 5th day of my getaway, my peaceful time was suddenly interrupted by a tearful call from Emma. "What's going on?" Mom said it was an easy job, just sitting in a chair, but Samuel and Dad are acting like I can't do anything right, Emma complained. Her words mirrored what my mother-in-law had probably told her, and I was taken aback. Even though I was enjoying a more relaxed pace during my trip, I knew it was time to help Emma face reality. "So Emma, how good are you with computers?" I asked, sensing her hesitation. "Well, I usually watch videos online and play games too," she replied. Her answer suggested she wasn't very skilled with computers. I asked her if she knew how to use software tools like Word or Excel. Her confused response surprised me, especially since she had worked in the Philadelphia apparel industry, where tasks like tracking sales and managing inventory would have required basic computer skills. "Can you handle calculations for sales or fill out documents?" I asked. She confidently said she could do those tasks. However, when I asked, "Can you calculate the right amount of tax?" her confidence wavered, and she answered uncertainly. This wasn't just about her math skills, but about her ability to apply them in a real business setting. While Emma might have other talents, it was clear that she wasn't sure about the skills needed for the job. Her discomfort with calculations seemed to be a big part of why Liam and Samuel were criticizing her. "It's crucial to confront the motives of my mother-in-law and her supporters who want to push me out," I said. "Since you're taking over my role, I expect you to manage the accounting tasks properly. Remember that email etiquette is important. A casual tone might work with friends, but it's not suitable for business communications. Also, you'll be responsible for scheduling staff shifts. Our team is small, but we take everyone's requests for time off seriously, so make sure not to prioritize your convenience over theirs." I advised her firmly, continuing to outline her responsibilities. I could hear Emma sobbing on the other end of the line. It was a tough conversation, but it was necessary for her to understand the reality and expectations of the role she was stepping into. Emma abruptly ended the call, clearly overwhelmed by the tasks at hand. Over the next 4 days, I took the opportunity to explore Philadelphia, the very place Emma had left. Surprisingly, I found the people there warmer than expected, which was a stark contrast to the cold-hearted nature of my mother-in-law, Amanda, and Emma, who seemed determined to push me out. A week after leaving my job, I returned to my in-laws' house. As soon as I arrived, Amanda confronted me, her face red with fury. "How dare you make my daughter cry? You won't get away with this." Amanda yelled, her eyes filled with anger and confusion. Before she could reach me, Samuel and Liam stepped in, trying to calm her down. Despite their efforts, Amanda's anger showed no signs of easing. Samuel explained calmly but firmly, "Emma is upset because she was scolded for trying to boss around her employees, even though she doesn't know how to do the job properly. It's not Mary's fault. Besides, Mary hasn't been here for a week, so she couldn't have upset Emma." Amanda shot back emotionally, "It's because of her. This woman is the reason for Emma's troubles. She accused me without any real basis." "Where is Emma, by the way?" I asked, looking around the room. She was nowhere to be found, adding to the mystery. "It's odd. Emma has nowhere else to go since she gave up her apartment in Philadelphia. I assumed she'd be here," I said, puzzled. Samuel then shared, "Emma's locked herself in her room. She's been crying and doesn't want to go to work anymore. She's overwhelmed because she doesn't have the skills needed for the job." Amanda was still upset and accused, "You've been turning Samuel and Liam against me. They wouldn't say the company is doing better with you instead of Emma unless you made them think badly about her." Samuel sighed deeply, clearly tired of the family drama and his failed attempts to clear things up. "Mom," he started again, trying to explain, "it might sound unusual, but Mary is really good at her job. She's certified in bookkeeping, she's great at secretarial work, and she even studied Spanish abroad. She manages all the multilingual communications at the company." He said this proudly. Amanda looked surprised, obviously not knowing about my qualifications and what I had done. "That sounds like something from a TV show," she mumbled. Thinking back, I shared that in college I was so focused on getting various certifications and studying that I barely had time for social activities or romance. It was during this time that I met Samuel when he visited my company for business. I found myself telling the story of how we first met, hoping to clear up misunderstandings and show the reality of our lives. However, I realized Amanda wasn't interested in hearing about my qualifications or past achievements, so I steered the conversation back to the current situation. In short, I took care of many different tasks at the company, like accounting, scheduling, talking with other companies, and managing employee shifts, I explained, describing my wide range of responsibilities. Samuel added, "The work environment has been much better since you became less involved, Mom." Amanda was visibly surprised by his comment. At that moment, Liam, Samuel's father, chimed in with unexpected news. "We're thinking about closing the company soon. Emma made a big mistake. Instead of preparing some important documents, she decided to answer phone calls because she thought it would be more fun. While we were away, she was rude to an important contact from another company, which could cause serious problems." I was shocked and covered my mouth with my hand. "I can't believe Emma would do something like that," I murmured, feeling disbelief and fear about how her actions could potentially ruin the company. While I was worrying about everything that was happening, the situation took another unexpected turn. When I explained our situation to the president of the other company, he suggested it might be time to think about merging our companies. He was interested in taking over our family business. Liam continued, "This was unexpected but hopeful news. A merger could help stabilize our customer base, which Samuel has been working hard to achieve through his efforts in sales." This news was a relief to Samuel and Liam, but not to Amanda. She suddenly objected, "That's not acceptable. Samuel should become the president. This is our company, isn't it? He shouldn't just be an employee." Amanda exclaimed passionately, unable to accept losing the prestige of owning a company. Her outburst caught Emma's attention, and she came downstairs to see what was going on. Amid the chaos, Liam spoke up with a calm but firm tone, "I am divorcing you. You've not only resisted change and neglected your responsibilities at home and with the family, but I've also found out about your affairs with younger men. I can't support this behavior any longer." This announcement shocked everyone, especially Samuel and me. Liam then took some divorce papers and a photo of Amanda with a young man from a shelf in the living room and placed them on the table. "If you look at these divorce papers now and pack up your things, I won't ask for alimony. Trying to get money from you would be pointless," he said firmly. "How can you say that? Haven't I dedicated myself to this house all these years?" Amanda protested. "Have you done any real housework in the last 8 years? Spending someone else's money on young men doesn't count as devotion to this house," Liam replied, sounding more frustrated than we'd ever heard him. This was the first time we saw this stern side of Liam, who was usually mild-mannered, as he addressed the deep-seated issues in the family. In the middle of all this family drama, seeing Liam, usually so calm and controlled, looking visibly upset was a shock to everyone, especially Emma, who had just walked into the room. She shook slightly, clearly shocked and scared. "Emma, this affects you too," Liam said firmly. "You came back because you couldn't make it on your own in Philadelphia. Now you can't even find a job here, and you act like you're better than everyone else. You've stopped trying to work altogether and seem to be avoiding responsibility. It's time for you to leave this house as well." Emma was stunned, her face showing confusion and denial. "Wait a minute, Dad. Even if Mom has her problems, I'm still your daughter, right?" she protested, desperately trying to hold on to her place in the family. Amanda, feeling hurt by her daughter's words, asked in shock, "Are you betraying me now, Emma?" Her voice was filled with hurt and disbelief. As things got more heated, Liam quickly stepped in to prevent more arguments. "To avoid more trouble, I've arranged for both of you to stay with someone I know until you get back on your feet. They'll be here soon to pick you up, so please pack your essential things," he said firmly, making it clear there was no room for discussion. With heavy hearts and no other options, Amanda and Emma packed up their belongings. Soon after, Liam's acquaintance, who managed a factory with living quarters, arrived to take them to their temporary home. Meanwhile, Samuel, Liam, and I used this time to inform our employees about the upcoming merger with a larger company, preparing them for the changes and challenges ahead. During these big changes, I found out I was pregnant. I shared the happy news with the president of the company acquiring ours. He was excited and promised to find a suitable replacement for my position to ensure a smooth transition. With the promise of new opportunities and the excitement of our growing family, Samuel and Liam threw themselves into their work even more, motivated by the bright future that lay ahead.
The day my husband laughed at my dreams was the day I started planning his downfall. Not that I knew it then. I was too busy fighting back tears as he wiped coffee from his chin, still chuckling at what I'd just told him. I'm Valentina, and until 6 months ago, I was the kind of wife who thought love meant sacrificing everything, including my self-respect, apparently. A skincare brand? Honey, you've never even run a lemonade stand. Davis's patronizing smile made my stomach turn. Let's stick to what you're good at, okay? The HR stuff, the house, you're perfect at that. Perfect. His favorite way to put me in my place. I forced a smile and gathered our breakfast dishes. You're right, it was just an idea. That's my girl. He kissed my cheek, grabbed his laptop bag, and headed for the door. Don't wait up tonight. Big meeting with investors. The moment his Tesla disappeared down our driveway, I opened my laptop. Our joint account balance made me dizzy. $283.42. Last month it was over $50,000. Our emergency fund, my careful savings from my HR job, everything. My hand shook as I dialed his number. Davis, what happened to our savings? Oh, that. His voice was distracted. Had to move some funds around for the startup. Don't worry your pretty head about it. Nestor says we'll triple it by quarter's end. Nestor. His sleazy college buddy turned business partner. The same guy who'd gotten Davis into crypto schemes and failed NFT projects. You didn't think to discuss this with me first. Discussion? He laughed again, that same dismissive chuckle. Val, baby, you wouldn't understand the technical aspects. Trust me, I've got this. I hung up and sat there, staring at our wedding photo. The smiling woman in white looked like a stranger now. My phone buzzed. A text from my old friend Gianna. Still up for coffee tomorrow? I typed back, definitely. Need your financial advice, expertise. That night, I waited until Davis was snoring to do some digging. It didn't take long to find it. An LLC registration under Nestor's name, with Davis listed as a partner. They'd filed it 3 months ago. My hands moved on autopilot, taking screenshots, downloading documents. I found my old freelance account information and checked the balance. $2,300. Not much, but it was mine. Davis didn't even know it existed. Val? His voice made me jump. What are you doing up? I switched tabs to Netflix. Couldn't sleep, just watching some shows. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. All charm now. You work too hard, baby. Let me handle the money stuff. That's what husbands are for, right? I leaned back against him, playing my part. Right. Mum always says women get too stressed about finances anyway. He yawned. Coming to bed? In a minute. After he left, I opened my phone's contacts and scrolled to a number I hadn't called in years. My sister Eliza, the black sheep, the one who'd done time for financial fraud, but knew more about business than anyone I knew. My finger hovered over her name. Davis's laughter echoed in my head. Perfect little Val. Stick to what you're good at. I pressed call. Eliza, it's me. I need your help. Valentina? She sounded wary. It's been 3 years. I know, and I'm sorry. But right now, I need someone who understands revenge and knows how to keep books that don't exist. Silence. Then, tell me everything. I glanced at her bedroom door, lowered my voice. Remember that skincare formula Grandma left us? The one Mum said was worthless? The rose and honey thing? Yeah. I've been perfecting it, testing it, and I've got orders waiting. Small ones, but real. I just need a silent partner, I could hear her smile. Someone who knows how to build something from nothing without leaving fingerprints. Exactly. Meet me tomorrow, that cafe near your old office. Bring the formula and any documentation you have of Davis's activities. I ended the call and closed my laptop. In our bedroom, Davis was sprawled across our king-sized bed, mouth open, completely oblivious. Poor Davis. He thought he'd married a perfect little housewife. He was about to learn that perfect women make the most dangerous enemies. I slipped under the covers, already calculating startup costs in my head. One thought kept me warm. Someday, soon, I'd be the one laughing. Eliza looked exactly like I remembered. Sharp eyes, sharper tongue, and an energy that made other cafe patrons instinctively lean away from our table. "You've got that desperate housewife look," she said, stirring her black coffee. "The one right before someone either has a breakdown or commits murder." "Neither." I slid a USB drive across the table. "I'm starting a business." She pocketed it without looking. "And lover boy doesn't know. Davis thinks I'm taking pottery classes 3 nights a week." "Pottery?" she snorted. "Men really do believe what they want to believe." I opened my laptop and showed her the spreadsheets. "I've got 50 pre-orders from my test group. The formula works. People want more. I just need to hide the money." Eliza leaned forward. "You know what I did time for, right? What makes you trust me?" "Because you're the only person I know who hates entitled men more than I do right now." That made her smile. Really smile. "Fair enough. Show me the numbers." For 2 hours, we planned. Eliza knew every legal loophole, every way to build a business that couldn't be traced back to me. By the time we finished, I had 3 new bank accounts and a business plan that made my hands shake with excitement. "One condition," Eliza said as we stood to leave. "When this blows up, and it will, I want to be there to see his face." Deal. That night, Davis came home late, reeking of expensive whiskey. "Baby, you'll never believe it." He practically bounced into the kitchen. "Nesta found another investor. We're talking serious money." "That's wonderful." I handed him a plate of dinner. "How much?" "Oh, you know." He waved vaguely. "Business stuff, complex numbers." Translation, he had no idea. "By the way," he added through a mouthful of food, "we might need to refinance the house." My fork clattered against the plate. "What?" "Just temporary. The app launch needs some extra capital. But once it hits," he made an explosion sound, "we'll be set for life." I thought about the documents I'd found earlier that day, a loan application with my forged signature as guarantor. My hand clenched under the table. "Whatever you think is best, honey." Later that week, I met Gianna at her office. She took one look at my business plan and pulled out her checkbook. 10,000, she said, writing, "as a silent investor, and I want in on the ground floor." "Why?" "Because I was there when Ben fired you for lacking focus. Because I've seen your prototype work miracles on my acne scars. And because," she smiled, "watching you destroy the boys' club will be better than therapy." That night, I worked in the garage, filling orders while Davis played video games upstairs. Each package I sealed felt like a tiny victory. My phone buzzed. Eliza had found someone named Aaliyah, a social media strategist looking to break away from her corporate job. "Meet me at the warehouse tomorrow," I texted back. "Warehouse," came the reply. "Fancy." It wasn't fancy, just a small storage unit I'd rented under my maiden name. But it was mine. The next morning, Davis kissed me goodbye. "Have fun at pottery, babe. Make me something pretty." I waited until his car was gone before changing into business clothes and heading to meet Aaliyah. She was younger than I expected, with bright eyes and a laptop covered in stickers. "So," she said after signing the NDA, You want to go viral without your husband knowing? Exactly. Girl, she grinned. This is going to be fun. We worked until sunset, planning campaigns, shooting product photos, building the kind of brand that would make Davis's tech bros drool. When I got home, he was already asleep. I checked our bank account one last time. Another 5,000 gone. But this time, I felt only calm. My phone lit up with a message from Eliza. Found something interesting about Nesta's LLC. Call me. I stepped onto the balcony and dialed. They're using investor money for personal expenses, she said without preamble. Classic Ponzi setup. Davis just signed off on a $100,000 loan with your name on it. The night air felt suddenly thick. Can you prove it? Better. I can track it. Every penny, every lie. Question is, what do you want to do about it? I watched Davis through the window, sleeping peacefully, probably dreaming of his imaginary millions. Document everything, I said. We're not just going to expose them. We're going to make them wish they'd never underestimated a housewife with time on her hands. Eliza laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Now, that's the sister I remember? I ended the call and went inside, already planning tomorrow's pottery class. Don't get mad. Get prepared. I whispered my new mantra while watching Aaliyah work her magic on our social media strategy. These engagement numbers are insane, she said, scrolling through analytics. Your before and after photos are going viral on TikTok. We were in my storage unit turned office, surrounded by shipping boxes and the sweet scent of rose extract. 3 months of pottery classes had transformed this space into a real business operation. How many orders today? I asked. 212. She spun her laptop around. And that's just from the Morning Post. My phone buzzed. Davis calling. I stepped outside to answer. Hey baby, quick question, he said, his voice tight. Did you move money from our savings account again? I kept my voice deliberately light. No, why? There's another 2,000 missing. You sure you didn't, I don't know, go shopping or something? The irony almost made me laugh. Davis, honey, I haven't touched that account since you said you needed it for the business. Right. He paused. Things are just a little tight right now. Nesta says... I'm sure everything's fine, I interrupted sweetly. You've got this, remember? After hanging up, I returned to find Aaliyah staring at her phone in shock. Valentina, Sephora just DM'd us. They want samples. My hand started shaking. What? They saw our viral video, the one with the burn survivor using our healing serum. They want to discuss retail possibilities. I grabbed my phone and called Gianna. Tell me you're sitting down, she said before I could speak. Your last quarter's numbers just hit my desk. We're looking at 6 figures in revenue. I need more investors, I said. Quiet ones, people who can handle rapid scaling. Already on it. But Val, you know this can't stay secret much longer, right? I watched another delivery truck pull up outside. Just a little longer, until everything's in place. That evening, I arrived home to find Davis pacing the living room. Where have you been? He demanded. I tried calling. Pottery class. You know that. For 5 hours? His eyes narrowed. Let me see what you made. My heart stopped. Then I reached into my bag and pulled out a small, lumpy bowl I'd bought from a thrift store that morning, just in case. It's supposed to be a vase, I said, letting embarrassment colour my voice. He laughed, that same old condescending chuckle. Oh, honey, maybe stick to your day job. I don't have a day job anymore, I reminded him. You said I should focus on supporting your dreams, remember? His face softened. And you've been amazing, baby. Things are just complicated right now. But once the app launches... When is the launch? I asked innocently. Soon. Very soon. Nesta's handling the technical side. He loosened his tie. Speaking of which, we're having a little cash flow issue. I might need to borrow against your retirement account. I forced my face to stay neutral. My retirement account? Just temporarily. The returns will be insane, I promise. Of course, I said. Whatever you need. The moment he went upstairs, I texted Eliza. He's after my retirement fund. Time to move to phase 2. Her response came instantly. Already on it. Check your email in an hour. I made dinner, playing the perfect housewife while Davis talked about his app. Something about cryptocurrency and social media that made less sense every time he explained it. My phone kept buzzing with Shopify notifications, but I'd silenced the alerts. You seem different lately, Davis said suddenly. Less stressed about money. I looked up from my plate. Do I? Yeah, like you're hiding something. His eyes narrowed. You're not seeing someone, are you? The accusation was so absurd I almost laughed. No, Davis, I'm not having an affair. Then where's your worry? We're practically broke, but you're walking around like everything's fine. I reached across the table and took his hand. I trust you, honey. Isn't that what you wanted? Later that night, I checked my email. Eliza had sent proof of everything. The forged signatures, the misappropriated investor funds, the shell companies. Enough evidence to bury Davis and Nesta 10 times over. My phone lit up with a text from Aaliyah. Sephora meeting confirmed for next week. You ready to go public? I looked at Davis, passed out on the couch with his laptop open to another crypto trading site. On the screen, red numbers flashed. More money down the drain. Not yet, I typed back. But soon. Very soon. I closed his laptop and draped a blanket over him, playing the dutiful wife one last time. In less than a month, his whole world would crash down. But tonight, let him sleep peacefully, dreaming of millions while I built my empire in the shadows. The hotel ballroom buzzed with anticipation. Davis had spent a fortune we didn't have on this launch event, complete with open bar and LED displays flashing his company logo everywhere. You look beautiful, he said, straightening his tie. The perfect CEO's wife. I smoothed my designer dress, paid for with my own money, not that he knew. Nervous? Please, he scoffed. This app is going to change everything. Just watch. I was watching all right, watching Nesta sweat through his expensive suit as he tried to calm angry investors in the corner, watching Aaliyah posing as a tech reporter, recording everything on her phone, watching it all come apart. Ladies and gentlemen, Davis took the stage, champagne in hand. Tonight, we revolutionize social media forever. The app demonstration started smoothly enough. Then came the error messages, the frozen screens, the awkward silence as Davis repeatedly tried to refresh the page. Minor technical difficulty, he laughed nervously. Nestor? But Nesta was already heading for the exit, phone pressed to his ear. That's when the tweets started appearing on the giant display screen behind Davis. Screenshots of bank statements, email threads exposing the fraud, Davis's forged documents, all time-stamped and verified. What the hell? Davis stumbled back from the podium. Someone shut it down. But it was too late. Investors were already pulling up the viral expose on their phones, watching as years of financial manipulation unfolded in real time. This is sabotage, Davis shouted, but his voice cracked. These are lies! Are they? A familiar voice cut through the chaos. My sister Eliza stood up, tablet in hand. Because I have the original documents right here. Would you like to explain why you forged your wife's signature on $100,000 loans? The room erupted. Investors stormed out, phones already dialing lawyers. Davis's mother Monica grabbed my arm. What did you do? She hissed. I smiled, removing her hand. Me? I'm just the perfect little wife, remember? The one you said should stay in her lane. You ungrateful... No, Monica, I cut her off. You raised a gambler and a liar. You're just angry I beat him at his own game. She recoiled like I'd slapped her. Behind us, Davis was having a meltdown on stage, screaming about hackers and conspiracy theories while security tried to escort him off. My phone buzzed. A text from Gianna. Sephora deal is signed. You're about to be in every major retailer in the country. I looked up to see Davis stumbling toward me, face red with rage and humiliation. You, he pointed a shaking finger. You did this somehow. Did what, honey? I kept my voice sweet. I'm just here supporting my husband's dreams. Isn't that what you wanted? Stop it! He grabbed my shoulders. What did you do with the money? Where is it? Security pulled him back before he could shake me. As they dragged him away, I saw Aaliyah's phone still recording. Perfect. Your wife didn't do anything. Eliza stepped between us. But your partner, Nestor, he just boarded a flight to Mexico with what's left of your investor funds. Davis collapsed into a chair, head in his hands. Around us, the hotel staff began clearing away the evidence of his failed triumph. I don't understand, he mumbled. Everything was perfect. No, Davis. I knelt beside him, voice low enough that only he could hear. You just thought you were perfect. That's the difference between us. His mother appeared again, this time with tears in her eyes. Davis, darling, what about my retirement fund? Gone, I told her, along with everything else he touched. But where will he stay? What will he do? I stood up, smoothing my dress again. That sounds like a mother's problem. I have a business to run. Business? Davis looked up. What business? Oh, honey, I patted his cheek. You really should have paid more attention to my pottery classes. I walked out of the ballroom, head high, leaving Davis to face the consequences of his arrogance. Outside, Eliza was waiting by my car. That was better than Netflix, she grinned. It's not over, I said, checking my phone. The expose had already gone viral. He'll be home soon, looking for answers. Want me to come with? I shook my head. No, I need to do this part alone. Your choice? She hugged me. But I've got the security cameras ready to record whatever happens next. I drove home and started packing Davis's things into suitcases. Each item felt lighter than the last. By the time his Uber pulled up to our house, I was sitting calmly in the living room, his bags by the door. The key turned in the lock and I took a deep breath. Time for the final act. Davis stumbled through the door, his perfect suit now wrinkled, his hair a mess from running his hands through it repeatedly. What are these? He kicked one of the suitcases. Your things. I didn't look up from my laptop where I was reviewing the separation papers my lawyer had sent over. I think it's time we had an honest conversation about finances. He laughed, a broken, desperate sound. You want to talk finances now? After you destroyed everything I built? You destroyed it yourself, Davis. I just exposed the truth. I turned my laptop around. Like these credit card statements, or this second apartment you've been paying for, the one where Nestor's been living while spending investor money. You don't understand. Or maybe we should discuss this. I held up the loan documents with my forged signature. That's fraud, by the way. Federal offence. He collapsed onto the couch, his facade finally cracking. Val, baby, please. I can explain everything. I'm sure you can. You're very good at explanations. I closed my laptop. But I've filed for separation citing financial abuse. My lawyer expects the divorce papers will follow shortly. Divorce? He shot up. You can't divorce me. What about everything I've given you? Given me? Now I laughed. You mean the empty bank accounts? The mortgaged house? The forged loans? I did it all for us. No. I stood up, finally letting my anger show. You did it for yourself because you thought you were smarter than everyone else, because you thought I was too stupid to notice. His phone buzzed repeatedly, probably more investors demanding answers. He ignored it, staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Where will I go? Your mother's worried sick about you. I gestured to the suitcases. Start there. My mother? His eyes narrowed. She's lost everything too, hasn't she? Her retirement, her savings. Actions have consequences, Davis, even for perfect men like you. He moved toward me, desperation in every step. Whatever you've got saved up, whatever you've hidden, we can use it to fix this. Together. I'll do better, I swear. There's nothing to fix. I stepped back. It's over. Over? His voice rose. I made you. You were nothing before me. Just some HR girl with delusions of... Actually, I cut him off. I have a meeting with my staff in an hour. You need to be gone by then. Staff? What staff? What are you talking about? I pulled up my company's website on my phone and handed it to him. His face went pale as he scrolled through the press coverage, the sales figures, the Sephora partnership announcement. This is your skincare thing? The stupid cream you were talking about? The one you laughed at? Yes. I took my phone back. Turns out I'm pretty good at running a real business, not just a Ponzi scheme. He grabbed my arm. You have to help me. I'm your husband. Remove your hand, I said quietly, or I'll add assault to the police report. He let go like I'd burned him. Outside, a car horn honked. That's your Uber to your mum's place. I handed him a business card. This is a good bankruptcy attorney. You'll need one. Val, please. His voice cracked. I love you. No, Davis, you loved having me. There's a difference. He picked up his suitcases, moving like a man in a dream. At the door, he turned back. Was any of it real? The love was, the respect wasn't. I opened the door for him. Goodbye, Davis. I watched him load his bags into the Uber, watched until the car disappeared around the corner. Then I called Eliza. It's done, I said. Start the next phase. The cease and desist letters to his remaining investors. All of it. No mercy. After hanging up, I walked through our house, my house now, touching everything that had once felt like a cage. My phone buzzed with a text from Gianna. Board meeting in 30. Ready to go public with the full story? I looked at myself in the hallway mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the perfect housewife anymore. She was something better, something real. Ready, I texted back. Another message popped up. This one from Monica. You've ruined my son's life. I hope you're happy. I typed back. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped pretending the emperor had clothes. Then I blocked her number, grabbed my keys, and headed to my office. My real office, where 30 employees were waiting for their CEO to start the morning meeting. Davis had taught me one valuable lesson. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's outgrowing them so completely they become irrelevant. 3 weeks after I kicked Davis out, he showed up at my office unannounced. Gone was the designer suit and cocky smile. He looked like a deflated version of himself in jeans and an old t-shirt. Mum, should I call security? My receptionist reached for the phone. It's okay, Sarah. I waved her down. Let him in. Davis shuffled into my office, eyes widening at the floor-to-ceiling windows and modern decor. The wall behind my desk displayed our products, gleaming under perfect lighting. Nice place, he mumbled. Better than my old office. What do you want, Davis? He sank into a chair, running his hands through unwashed hair. I need help. The investors are suing. Nesta's gone completely dark. Mum won't even take my calls anymore. And? He leaned forward. I know you must have savings. Whatever you've built here, we could use it to fix everything. Together, like before. I pressed the intercom. Sarah, could you bring in the Q3 reports? Right away, Ms. Valentina. Davis frowned. What are you doing? Showing you exactly what I've built. I accepted the folder from Sarah and spread the documents across my desk. These are my company's quarterly earnings. This is our growth projection. Here's our current market valuation. His face went from confused to shocked as he processed the numbers. This can't be real. Very real. Unlike your app, my business actually makes things people want to buy. But he looked up, desperation in his eyes. How? When? Remember all those pottery classes? Turns out I wasn't making vases. I gestured around the office. I was building this. While you were gambling away our savings? Yes. I gathered the papers back into their folder. Funny how that worked out. He slumped in his chair. I need money, Val, just enough to get back on my feet. Pay some lawyers. No. Please, I'm sleeping on my friend's couch. My credit cards are maxed out. I can't even... Here. I slid a business card across the desk. This is the contact information for a good bankruptcy attorney. That's all I'm giving you. A bankruptcy attorney? His voice cracked. And that's your help? It's more than you deserve. He stood up suddenly, anger replacing desperation. I made you who you are. Without me... Without you, I cut him off. Without you, I might have started this company years ago. Without you, I wouldn't have hidden my success like it was something shameful. Without you, Davis, I would have been free. You're just like Nestor, he spat. A traitor. No. I pressed the intercom again. Sarah, please escort Mr. Davis out, and if he returns, call security immediately. You can't do this to me, he was shouting now. I'm your husband. Ex-husband soon enough. I turned to my computer, dismissing him. The divorce papers are being filed this afternoon. Sarah appeared with 2 security guards. As they led him out, I heard him yelling, You'll regret this, Val. You need me. Once he was gone, I texted Eliza. He came begging, just like you predicted. She replied instantly, Tell me you got it on camera. Security footage, plus my office cameras, all archived. Perfect. The bankruptcy court will love that entitled attitude. I had just set my phone down when Aaliyah burst into my office, practically vibrating with excitement. We just hit 1 million followers, and Vogue wants to do a feature. They're calling you the silent entrepreneur who built an empire while her husband lost one. I smiled. Schedule or the interview? There's more, she grinned. Your old boss Ben has been trying to reach you. Apparently, he wants to discuss a mutually beneficial partnership opportunity. The same Ben who fired me for lacking focus? That's the one. I deleted his message without reading it. Some bridges should stay burned. My phone buzzed again, Monica calling for the 100th time. I blocked her number. Again. Aaliyah, I said, schedule a press conference for next week. It's time to tell the whole story. The whole story? Are you sure? I looked out my office window at the city below. Somewhere out there, Davis was probably running to his remaining friends, spinning tales about his ungrateful wife. Let him talk. Yes, I said. It's time everyone knew what happens when you underestimate a woman with a dream and a grudge. And Davis? I thought about his desperate face, his entitled demands, his unshakable belief that I would rescue him from his own mistakes. Davis taught me an important lesson, I said, picking up the bankruptcy attorney's card he'd left behind. He taught me that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting ahead. I dropped the card into my shredder and watched it disappear, just like my last shred of sympathy for the man who'd laughed at my dreams. The acquisition offer came on the same day Davis's bankruptcy proceedings went public. 7 figures. More money than he'd lost in his entire failed venture. "Sign here," my lawyer said, sliding the papers across the conference table. "You'll retain creative control and executive position." As I signed, Gianna squeezed my hand under the table. 6 months of building in secret had led to this moment. My phone buzzed. Eliza sending a screenshot of Davis's bankruptcy filing. His assets seized, Nesta suing him for misrepresentation, and Monica's retirement fund officially gone. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt light. "Congratulations," the acquiring company's CEO shook my hand. "Your story's inspiring, from housewife to beauty mogul in under a year." "Sometimes the best motivation is someone telling you you can't do something," I replied, thinking of Davis's laugh. After the meeting, I drove to my parents' house for Sunday dinner. The first family gathering since everything exploded. Monica would be there. She'd been calling my mother daily, trying to fix things. I walked in to find the family gathered around the TV, watching my Vogue interview. "There's my successful girl," Dad pulled me into a hug. "The talk of the town." Monica sat in the corner, face pinched. "Some of us don't consider destroying families a success." "Funny," I said, taking a seat. "I don't remember you being concerned about family when Davis was stealing my savings." "He was investing. He was gambling," my mother cut in, "and you encouraged him." "I just wanted—" "What you wanted," I interrupted, "was a son who proved men are better at business than women. How's that working out?" The room went silent. Even Monica looked shocked at my directness. "Valentina," she tried again, softer now. "He's living in a studio apartment, working as a delivery driver. Please, if you could just what? Save him again? Enable him again?" I stood up. "Your son needs to learn. Actions have consequences." "He wants to apologize," she blurted out. "He's been trying to reach you." "I know. He left 17 voicemails yesterday." I pulled out my phone and played the latest one on speaker. Davis's drunk voice filled the room. "Val, baby, I get it now. I was wrong. So wrong. We can fix this. I've changed. I could help run the company with you. Be your business partner. Please, call me back." I stopped the playback. Monica was crying. "That's not an apology," I said quietly. "That's another attempt to control me. He's trying—" "No, he's not." I grabbed my purse. "He's trying to find another way to take credit for my success. Just like you're trying to guilt me into saving him." Dad stepped forward. "Where are you going?" "I have a meeting. We're opening a foundation to help women escape financial abuse." I looked directly at Monica. Something good should come from all this. As I reached the door, Davis himself burst in, unshaven and wild-eyed. "Val, thank God, we need to talk." "No, we don't." I stepped back. "How did you know I was here?" "Mom told me." He moved closer. "I saw the acquisition news. Congratulations. I always believed in you, you know." "Really?" I pulled out my phone. "Should I play the recording of you laughing at my business plan again?" He flinched. "I was wrong, okay? I admit it. But think about it. With my business experience, I could help you expand, make it even bigger." The laugh escaped before I could stop it. "Your business experience? You mean your experience in losing other people's money? That's not fair. Life's not fair, Davis. You taught me that." I turned to my family. "I'm sorry, but I need to go. Dad, could you make sure he leaves?" "Of course, sweetheart." My father stepped between us. "Davis, time to go." "Val, please," Davis called after me. "You can't just leave me like this." I stopped at my car and turned back one last time. "I'm not leaving you like anything. You did this to yourself. The only difference is now I'm not pretending otherwise. As I drove away, I saw Monica holding Davis while he broke down on our parents' front lawn. My phone lit up with a text from Eliza. Just saw the acquisition news. Ready for phase 2? I smiled, thinking of the Women's Foundation we were launching next month. Ready? Let's help others get the revenge they deserve. Another text came through, this one from Aliyah. Forbes wants to interview you. Their 30 under 30 list. The theme, Rising from the Ashes. Perfect timing, because that's exactly what I'd done. Risen from the ashes of a marriage built on lies, spread my wings and soared far beyond anywhere Davis could reach. Let him cry on his mother's shoulder. Let them both learn that karma doesn't ask permission before she collects her debts. I had an empire to run. The foundation's opening ceremony buzzed with energy. Hundreds of women filled the conference hall, each with a story similar to mine. On stage, Eliza was finishing her speech about financial abuse and empowerment. And now, she said, please welcome our founder and CEO, Valentina. The applause washed over me as I took the podium. In the front row, Gianna and Aliyah beamed. My parents sat beside them, pride radiating from their faces. When my husband laughed at my dreams, I began, he taught me something valuable. He taught me that some people will never believe in you until they have to. Movement at the back of the room caught my eye. Davis slipped in, wearing a suit that had seen better days. Monica hovered behind him. I continued speaking, pretending not to notice. This foundation isn't about revenge. It's about reclamation, taking back what was always ours, our confidence, our independence, our right to succeed. I saw Davis lean against the wall, listening. Good. Let him hear every word. We're launching with $1 million grant program, I announced, for women starting over, women whose partners told them they couldn't, women who refused to stay in their lane. The room erupted in applause. As I stepped down, Davis pushed through the crowd toward me. Security moved to intercept him, but I held up my hand. Let him through. He stopped a few feet away, looking lost in his oversized suit. Impressive speech. Thank you. Why are you here? He swallowed hard. I wanted to see it for myself. What you built. And I'm sorry. His voice cracked. Really sorry. Not because I lost everything, but because I never saw you, the real you. I studied his face, searching for the manipulation I'd grown so used to. Instead, I found something new. Genuine regret. You know what the worst part was? I asked. Not the money you stole, not even the lies. It was the laughter, the way you found my dreams funny. He flinched. I know. No, you don't, but you will. I gestured around the room. Every woman here has a Davis in her past, and every one of them is going to succeed, despite him. Monica appeared beside him. Valentina, please. He's suffered enough. Has he? I turned to her. Has he learned that women aren't supporting characters in his story? That we have our own dreams, our own power? I have, Davis whispered. Go. Yeah, I have. Then prove it. Not to me. I'm done being your audience. Prove it by becoming someone who builds things instead of breaking them. Security stepped forward again, and this time I let them escort Davis and Monica out. Eliza joined me, watching them leave. You okay? Better than okay, I smiled. I'm free. Speaking of freedom, she pulled out her tablet. Guess who just called? Ben. Your old boss? His company's tanking and he's begging for a merger. I laughed. Not Davis's mocking chuckle, but something fuller, richer. Tell him I'm busy empowering his female employees to start their own companies. The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur of speeches, applause, and tears. Happy ones, from women who finally saw a path forward. At the end, Aaliyah handed me a stack of applications for our first round of grants. "Over 1,000 submissions already," she said. "Turns out you're not the only wife who got laughed at." Good. I took the papers. Let's help them all have the last laugh. That night, I sat in my office reviewing applications. Each story felt familiar. The dismissal, the financial abuse, the dreams deferred, but not defeated. My phone buzzed with a text from Davis. "Congratulations on the foundation. You were right about everything. I won't contact you again." I didn't reply. Some chapters need to stay closed. Instead, I called Eliza. "Remember when you said revenge wouldn't make me feel better?" "Yeah? You were wrong, but not because of what it did to Davis, because of what it showed me about myself." "And what's that?" I looked at the wall of press clippings, at the photos of women we'd already helped. That sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone who hurt you. It's building something so beautiful from the wreckage that they have to live with, knowing they could have been part of it. "Deep," she laughed. "Put that in your next speech." I hung up and walked to my window, watching the city lights twinkle. Somewhere out there, Davis was probably staring at the same lights, wondering how he'd lost everything. But I wasn't wondering anything anymore. He'd called my dreams cute. Now they were the reason I slept in silk sheets while he crashed on friends' couches. And honestly, that felt better than any revenge I could have planned. The end justified every means. And this was just the beginning.
The words hung in the air of our living room, thick and suffocating, like the cheap, cloying perfume that clung to him. It wasn't his usual scent. It was hers. Lauren's. "I want a divorce, Nora." My name is Nora, by the way, and for 15 years I'd been his wife. 15 years just flushed away with 4 words and the lingering aroma of someone else's desire. He didn't even have the decency to look me in the eye. Daryl, my Daryl, stood there, shifting his weight, his gaze fixed on some indeterminate spot over my left shoulder. "It's just not working anymore," he mumbled, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. The hair I used to love to mess up. "Not working?" I finally found my voice, a thin, reedy sound I barely recognized. "Daryl, we've been married for 15 years. What isn't working?" He sighed, a gust of impatience. "You, Nora. You're not working. You've let yourself go." My breath hitched. Let myself go? I looked down at myself. Comfortable jeans, a soft sweater. I wasn't in cocktail attire on a Tuesday evening. No, I was home, our home, where I thought we were building a life, where I'd spent years supporting his dreams, putting mine on hold. "I'm not the woman you married," he continued, his voice gaining a cruel confidence now that the initial awkwardness was past. "I need more. Someone with vitality." Vitality. Was that what they called 22-year-olds with more ambition in their cleavage than in their careers? The image of Lauren, his new assistant, flashed in my mind, all batting eyelashes and a predatory smile I'd dismissed as youthful insecurity. How wrong I'd been. The argument, if you could call his monologue an argument, was short and brutal. He'd already made up his mind. He'd probably made it up months ago, during one of his many late nights at work that reeked of that same cheap perfume. He was packed by morning, a few expensive suitcases by the door. He didn't take much, just his designer clothes, his high-tech gadgets, his new golf clubs. He left behind 15 years of shared memories as if they were last week's trash, not even a backward glance at the wedding photo on the mantel. The days that followed were a blur of forced smiles for concerned friends and hollow reassurances to my own bewildered reflection in the mirror. Then, a week later, the humiliation was compounded. I saw it, or rather, her, Lauren, smirking from the passenger seat of a brand new cherry red sports car, the kind Daryl had always said we couldn't afford, not while he was building his empire. He was driving, laughing, one hand on the wheel, the other casually draped over her bare shoulder as they sped past the cafe where I was trying to choke down a coffee. The car, I later discovered through a quick, painful search online, was bought with money from our joint savings account. The one I'd painstakingly built up penny by penny from my freelance graphic design work while supporting his endless, often fruitless ventures. The shock, the raw, bleeding wound of his betrayal began to scab over, and underneath, something else started to grow. Something cold, hard, and sharp as a shard of ice. Resolve. He thought I was weak. He thought I'd crumble into a sobbing mess and accept whatever crumbs he threw my way. He'd always underestimated me, even from the beginning. He saw the quiet supporter, not the silent observer. I remembered our wedding day, 15 years ago. My family, bless their practical hearts, had insisted on a prenuptial agreement. I came from a modest background, but I had a small inheritance from my grandmother, and my father, ever the pragmatist, wanted to protect my future. Just in case. He'd seen a flicker of something in Darrell back then, a self-serving streak I'd been too blinded by love to acknowledge. Darrell had laughed it off when my father broached the subject. He was already showing signs of the arrogance that would later define him, though back then it was masked as confident charm. A prenup? For what, Nora? Your collection of vintage teacups and that little nest egg? He'd been charming then, his dismissal coated in a layer of affectionate teasing as he pulled me close. It's just a formality, babe. We're forever. But if it makes your folks happy, I'll sign whatever piece of paper they want. He'd barely glanced at it before scrawling his signature, eager to get to the part where everyone celebrated him. Just a formality, he'd repeated, already thinking about the open bar at the reception and impressing my relatives with his grand plans. He'd forgotten about it. I was certain of it. Men like Darrell, men who believe they hold all the cards, rarely pay attention to the fine print, especially when it's designed to protect someone they deem lesser, someone they plan to eventually discard. But I hadn't forgotten. Oh no. How could I? It was a promise, not just to my family, but to myself. A safety net I prayed I'd never need. A few months had passed since that awful evening in the living room. Darrell had officially moved in with Lauren, flaunting their new life on social media while I was supposedly picking up the shattered pieces of mine. He called occasionally, his voice dripping with false concern, asking if I was managing okay and if I'd come to my senses about his initial, ludicrously unfair settlement offer. He wanted me to sign divorce papers quickly, offering a pittance he called generous, enough to get back on my feet, he'd said, as if I'd been lounging on a featherbed for 15 years. Tonight, the house felt emptier than usual. The silence pressed in, heavy and expectant. I walked to the old cedar chest at the foot of my bed. The key, a small, ornate silver thing, was tucked away in my jewelry box, hidden beneath earrings I no longer wore. My fingers trembled slightly as I unlocked it. The scent of cedar and old paper wafted out, a scent of secrets and time. Inside, beneath a layer of carefully preserved baby clothes I'd once hoped we'd need, lay a thick, legal sized envelope. My hands were steady now. I pulled out the document, its pages crisp despite their age, the prenuptial agreement, executed 15 years, 3 months, and 2 days ago. I smoothed it out on the polished wood of my nightstand. My eyes scanned the familiar clauses, the dense legal jargon that had once seemed so intimidating, so unnecessary. Then I found it. Clause 7, subsection B, the infidelity clause. Clear, concise, and utterly brutal. My father, with his quiet wisdom, had insisted on its inclusion, his lawyer friend drafting it with an almost gleeful precision. A slow, dangerous smile spread across my lips, a smile Darrell had never seen, a smile that held no warmth, only the promise of a meticulously planned reckoning. A formality, you said, Darrell. I whispered to the empty room, the document clutched in my hand like a weapon. Let's see about that. The game wasn't over. It had just begun. And I was about to change all the rules. He thought he was writing the ending to our story. He had no idea I was already working on an entirely new script, one where he wouldn't like his part at all. The next phone call from Darrell came 2 days later. I let it ring 3 times, took a shaky breath, and answered with a carefully constructed tremor in my voice. Hello? Nora? You sound awful. Are you still moping around? His tone was impatient, laced with that familiar condescension. I I just miss you, Darrell. I choked out, squeezing my eyes shut to conjure a tear. It worked. A single, perfect tear rolled down my cheek. This is also hard. Well, it wouldn't be if you'd just signed the papers. My lawyer sent them over again. It's a fair offer, Nora. More than fair, considering. Considering what? Considering he'd found a newer model? I bit back the retort. I I'll look at them again, I whispered. It's just so final. He sighed, a sound I could practically see him making, rolling his eyes. Look, I'm trying to be decent here. Don't make me regret it. Decent. Right. His mother, Marin, called later that week. Her calls were always an ordeal. Nora, dear, she began, her voice like nails on a chalkboard. Daryl tells me you're being difficult. Difficult, Marin? I'm heartbroken, I said, letting my voice crack. He's left me. Well, these things happen, dear. Sometimes a man just needs a change. You have to keep them interested, you know. Perhaps if you'd paid more attention to yourself. I let her drone on, her thinly veiled criticisms washing over me. Each word was a tiny pebble added to the mountain of evidence I was building. While she lectured, I was scrolling through Daryl's latest Instagram post. Him and Lauren, champagne flutes in hand, on a yacht. The caption read, Living Our Best Life, Blessed One New Beginnings. The yacht, I noted with a grim satisfaction, was chartered using funds from our rapidly dwindling household account. Screenshot, saved, dated. I started tracking everything. Credit card statements arrived online, detailing lavish dinners, designer clothes for Lauren, weekend trips to boutique hotels. Every receipt, every social media post, every smug selfie, cataloged. I was becoming an archivist of my own betrayal. My performance extended beyond phone calls. I needed to see Lauren to gauge her, so I accidentally bumped into her at our old favorite coffee shop, the one Daryl now frequented with her. I feigned surprise, my hand flying to my mouth. Oh, Lauren, I didn't expect to see you here. She looked me up and down, a small, triumphant smirk playing on her lips. She was all bright, tight clothing and too much makeup. Nora, right? Daryl's mentioned you. He has? I tried to look hopeful, pathetic. Yeah, he said you were taking this pretty hard. Her eyes, cold and assessing, raked over me again. He just wants to move on, you know? Be happy. You should try it sometime. Tears welled, genuine ones this time, fueled by a rage so potent it almost choked me. It's just 15 years is a long time, I stammered, dabbing at my eyes with a napkin. Well, people change. Get over it. She picked up her latte, perfectly manicured nails tapping against the cup. He's with me now, and we're really happy. She sauntered off, leaving me to play the part of the weeping, abandoned wife. The barista gave me a sympathetic look and a free muffin. Little did anyone in that cafe know the real performance was the one Lauren had just given, a perfect display of arrogance and dismissiveness that would play beautifully later. Now, here's the thing. You might be thinking, I'm just a woman scorned, suddenly finding a backbone, and yes, the scorn was very, very real. But the backbone? That had been there for a while. I didn't just remember the prenup after Daryl dropped his bombshell. That would have been too convenient, too much like a movie plot. No, the truth is, I dusted off that prenup years ago, the first time I saw a suspicious text on Daryl's phone, the first time his late nights at work started becoming a pattern. I'd taken it to a lawyer, a sharp, no nonsense woman named Maria Santos. This, Maria had said, tapping the infidelity clause with a perfectly manicured nail, much like Lauren's, but infinitely more intelligent. This is your ace in the hole, Nora. If he ever truly crosses the line, and you can prove it, this document will protect you. More than protect you, it will give you leverage. We'd reviewed it thoroughly. I understood every clause, every implication. And then I'd put it back in the cedar chest and waited. I'd hoped, prayed even, that I'd never need it. I'd tried to fix things, to talk to Daryl, to rekindle what we'd lost. But his eyes were already elsewhere. He was already mentally checked out, just waiting for the right moment, the right replacement, to make his move. My devastation that night in the living room? It was real in a way. The death of a dream always is. But beneath the grief was a cold, hard layer of preparedness. His cruelty, his blatant affair, his assumption of my weakness. He was walking right into the trap I'd been forced to set years ago. He was overplaying his hand so spectacularly, it was almost beautiful to watch. My tears were real, but my helplessness was an act. The phone rang again tonight. Daryl. Nora, good news. Lauren and I are heading to Napa for the weekend, celebrating a bit. He sounded smug, almost giddy. Anyway, my lawyer, Owen, is going to send over some preliminary papers. Just some standard stuff to get the ball rolling, speed things along. You'll sign them, right? No fuss? I sniffled, right on cue. Napa? That sounds lovely, Daryl. A pause, then. Yes, of course. Anything to make this easier. A silent vow echoed in my heart, a counterpoint to my meek words. Oh, I'll make it easier, Daryl. Easier for you to lose everything. Good girl, he said, the condescension practically dripping through the phone. Talk soon. He hung up. I stared at my phone, a slow, predatory smile spreading across my face. The performance was about to enter its most critical phase, and he had no idea the curtains were about to fall on his entire, carefully constructed charade. My grief needed to be thorough, my despair utterly convincing. But while I was publicly falling apart, privately, I was building an arsenal. The screenshots and bank statements were a good start, but I needed more. Something undeniable. I hired a private investigator, a discreet man named Mr. Henderson, recommended by Maria. He was expensive, but worth every penny. Within a week, he delivered his first report. Photos, Daryl and Lauren, hand in hand, kissing openly outside a ridiculously priced restaurant. Daryl's arm around her waist as they browsed a jewelry store, Lauren pointing animatedly at a diamond display. Incriminating messages, retrieved from a shared cloud account Daryl had foolishly forgotten I had access to, messages filled with sickening pet names and explicit plans for their future, a future built on the wreckage of ours. The joint account Daryl was so gleefully plundering? It stung, yes, watching the balance dwindle on his lavish new life. But here was another little secret Daryl didn't know. Years ago, when his business ventures started looking more like expensive hobbies and his commitment to our financial future seemed to wane, I'd had a long chat with a financial advisor, again, quietly, without fanfare. Following her advice, I had subtly restructured our major assets. The house, which had a significant amount of equity, was primarily in my name due to my initial larger down payment from my inheritance, something Daryl had waved off as just paperwork at the time. My own savings, the serious ones, were in accounts he didn't even know existed. The joint account he was draining was substantial, yes, designed to look like our main pot, but it wasn't the entirety of our wealth. Not by a long shot. He was torching his own safety net, thinking it was mine. The performance had to extend to his family, particularly Marin. She invited me to dinner, a command performance I couldn't refuse if I wanted to maintain my facade of the wronged, bewildered wife. Nora, you look tired, Marin said, her eyes scanning me critically as I sat down at her perfectly set dining table. Daryl, thankfully, was too busy to attend. It's been a difficult time, Marin, I said, picking at the dry chicken she served. Well, marriage isn't always easy, dear, she pronounced, dabbing her lips with a linen napkin. A woman has to make an effort. Men have needs. If those needs aren't met at home. She let the sentence hang, her implication clear. I was to blame. I hadn't been woman enough, wife enough. I tried, Marin. I really did, I said, my voice soft, laced with a carefully measured dose of sorrow. Trying isn't always doing, Nora. She sighed dramatically. Daryl is a good man, a successful man. He deserves happiness. I absorbed her barbs, her pronouncements, her complete and utter blindness to her son's flaws. Inside, a cold fury simmered, but outwardly, I was the picture of heartbroken acceptance. I even managed to squeeze out a few tears when she spoke of Daryl's newfound joy with Lauren. She's a lovely girl, Marin cooed, so vibrant, and she clearly adores him. The dinner was an exercise in supreme self-control. I left her house feeling drained, but also strangely invigorated. Her condescension, her blame, it all fueled the fire. The next day, I met with Maria. Her office was sleek, modern, and exuded competence. I laid out my growing file. Mr. Henderson's report, the financial statements, the screenshots, even a summary of Marin's delightful dinner conversation. Maria sifted through it, her expression unreadable at first, then a slow, appreciative smile spread across her face. Nora, this is comprehensive. She picked up one of the photos, Daryl and Lauren looking disgustingly smitten, emerging from a five-star hotel. He's not even trying to be discreet, is he? Not anymore, I said. He thinks I'm too broken to notice or too stupid to care. His mistake, Maria said, her eyes gleaming. The infidelity is blatant, well documented. The dissipation of marital assets, this spending on Lauren, is equally clear, and with the prenup, she tapped the copy I'd brought. This isn't just a shield, Nora. It's a sword, and you've sharpened it beautifully. She explained the strength of our position again, how Daryl's actions had triggered the most severe clauses. It wasn't just about protecting my premarital assets anymore, it was about significant damages. He thinks he's going to walk away with the lion's share and leave you with scraps, Maria said. He's in for a very rude awakening. A sense of calm settled over me. The plan was working. Every piece was falling into place. Just as I was about to leave Maria's office, my phone buzzed. A new email from Mr. Henderson. Subject: Urgent update. I opened it, Maria looking over my shoulder. New photos. Crystal clear. Got Daryl on one knee in a public park. Lauren, hand over her mouth, feigning shock, then ecstatic joy. A close up of a large, garish diamond ring on her finger. They were engagement ring shopping in the earlier photos. This was the proposal itself. A surge of icy calm washed through me, so profound it was almost serene. He was sealing his own fate, gift wrapping it with a diamond. I looked at Maria. She raised an eyebrow. He's making this too easy, I murmured, a ghost of a smile on my lips. Some men are their own worst enemies, Maria agreed, her smile matching mine. They dig their own graves with such enthusiasm. The web was woven, the evidence was irrefutable. All that was left was to wait for the perfect moment to let him walk into it, and that moment, I sensed, was coming very soon. Let's go over the formality one more time, shall we? Maria said, spreading the prenup across her wide mahogany desk. The air in her office hummed with a quiet, predatory energy. This was her battlefield, and she was a seasoned general. We spent the next few weeks dissecting every line, every subclause. The document, drafted by my father's shrewd lawyer all those years ago, was a masterpiece of foresight. The infidelity clause, Clause 7, subsection B, was the star, of course. It wasn't just a vague deterrent. It was a meticulously crafted instrument of financial devastation for the unfaithful party if they were the one to initiate the divorce proceedings based on their desire to pursue another relationship. And Daryl, bless his arrogant heart, had done exactly that, even putting his reasons in writing in his initial, ill advised email demanding the divorce. Proven adultery by the party initiating the dissolution, Maria read aloud, her voice crisp, results in the forfeiture of claims to certain marital assets and she paused for dramatic effect, her eyes twinkling, entitles the aggrieved party to a significant redistribution of said assets, plus substantial compensatory damages. It was even better than I remembered from my initial review years ago. Not only were my premarital assets and inheritance ironclad, but the prenup stipulated that in the event of Daryl's proven infidelity leading to the divorce he sought, I was entitled to the primary marital home, free and clear. It also awarded me a staggering 70% of all other assets accumulated during the marriage. And the kicker, the part that made Maria grin like a Cheshire cat, a hefty claim on his future earnings for 5 years. 5 years? This was framed as damages for derailing my own career aspirations, which I'd demonstrably put on hold to support his genius and manage our household, under the verbal agreement that he would be the primary earner while we started a family that never materialized because, as I now suspected, he was already looking for exits. He signed this, I breathed, still slightly in awe of its sheer ruthlessness. He actually signed this. Men like Daryl rarely read the fine print when they're convinced they're the smartest person in the room, Maria said dryly. He saw a young woman with a modest inheritance and probably thought it was a charming little document to appease her overprotective father. He never imagined he'd be the one caught in its teeth. A new email pinged in Maria's inbox. Ah, speak of the devil, she murmured, clicking it open. It's from Owen Baker, Daryl's lawyer. Another settlement offer. She projected it onto the large screen on her wall. It was, as expected, insulting, a slight increase from his previous lowball offer, but still laughably inadequate. He was offering me a fraction of the value of the house, a pittance of our joint savings, the ones he hadn't already spent, and a condescending note that this was his final and most generous offer considering Nora's lack of contribution to the marital finances. I snorted. Lack of contribution? I ran our lives, managed his chaotic business books for the first 5 years, and poured every spare penny I earned into that joint account he's treating like his personal slush fund. He's confident, isn't he? Maria said, a dangerous glint in her eye. He clearly believes you're desperate and uninformed. So, what's our move? I asked. We play his game, for now, Maria advised. We counter, but not too aggressively. We make him think you're starting to see reason, that you're weakening. We'll offer slightly more than his pittance, but still far, far below what you're actually entitled to. Let him feel like he's winning, like he's grinding you down. So we drafted a counter offer. It was an exercise in feigned capitulation. I reluctantly agreed to give up my claim on his precious business, which, according to the prenup, I could have demanded a significant share of or its equivalent value, and asked for a slightly larger portion of the remaining joint savings and a modest alimony for a couple of years. It was still a fraction of what the prenup guaranteed. Maria sent it off. We didn't have to wait long for a response. Her phone rang less than an hour later. Owen Baker. Maria put him on speaker. Maria, darling. Owen's voice oozed false bonhomie. Good to hear from you. I see your client is starting to come to her senses. Smart girl. I clenched my fists under the table. We're trying to be reasonable, Owen, Maria replied, her voice cool and professional. Reasonable? Owen chuckled, a patronizing sound. Look, Maria, between us, your client is being unrealistic if she thinks she's getting much more. Daryl is being incredibly generous here. He could drag this through the courts, make it messy. He doesn't want to, but his patience is wearing thin. This new offer of hers, it's still not quite there. Tell her to take Daryl's last offer. It's the best she's going to get. He's not going to be played for a fool. Played for a fool. The irony was so thick I could have spread it on toast. We will consider Mr. Warren's previous offer, Maria said smoothly, and we will have our final response ready for the meeting next Tuesday. Will that be acceptable? Tuesday it is, Owen said, sounding smugly satisfied. But tell Nora not to get her hopes up. Daryl's not budging much further. He's ready to move on with his life. He paused, then added with a little laugh, with his lovely fiancée, Lauren. They're already planning the wedding, you know. He hung up. The silence in Maria's office was electric. He has no idea. I whispered, a thrill coursing through me. He has absolutely no idea what's about to hit him. None whatsoever, Maria confirmed, her smile sharp as a scalpel. The formality, Mr. Baker, is about to become a fortress, and your client, Mr. Warren, is about to find himself on the wrong side of the wall with nothing but the clothes on his back. Tuesday couldn't come soon enough. Daryl, true to Owen's word, started to ramp up the pressure. His calls became more frequent, his tone shifting from false concern to outright irritation. Nora, have you signed yet? He'd snap without even a perfunctory hello. This is dragging on. I've got plans, you know. Lauren and I are looking at venues. We can't put our lives on hold forever because you're having a pity party. I'm still thinking, Daryl. I'd reply, my voice deliberately small and uncertain. It's a big decision. Thinking? What's there to think about? It's more than generous. If you don't sign by Tuesday, I'm telling Owen to file contested. We'll go to court, and trust me, you won't like how that plays out. It'll be messy, expensive, and you'll end up with even less. Is that what you want? His threats were hollow, but they were part of the performance. I had to appear rattled. Then came Lauren. Her arrogance, it seemed, knew no bounds. Or perhaps Daryl, in his frustration, had sent his little attack dog to hurry things along. I was at the grocery store, listlessly pushing a cart down the cereal aisle when I heard her voice, sharp and unwelcome. Nora, fancy meeting you here. Still stocking up on comfort food? I turned, feigning surprise and a touch of fear. There she was, dressed in athleisure wear that cost more than my entire grocery bill, a smirk plastered on her face. Lauren? Hello. Look, she said, stepping closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial yet threatening tone. Daryl's getting really tired of this. He's a good man. He deserves to be happy. Why are you making this so difficult? I I just need some time, I stammered, clutching the handle of my cart. Time for what? She scoffed. To hope he changes his mind? Honey, that ship has sailed, sunk, and is now an artificial reef. He's with me, we're getting married, just sign the papers and move on with your sad little life. My heart was pounding, but not with fear, with a strange, exhilarating anticipation. This was it. This was the moment. He's offering you a good deal, she continued, leaning in even closer, her cheap perfume making me want to gag. More than you deserve, if you ask me. He just wants this over. Clean break. I I don't know what to do, I whispered, letting my eyes fill with tears. My hand, holding my phone, fumbled. The phone slipped, clattering to the linoleum floor. Oh, my phone! I bent to pick it up, my fingers accidentally brushing the screen. The screen that was, of course, actively recording audio. Lauren rolled her eyes. Clumsy much? Just get it together, Nora. Sign the papers. Daryl's already talking to his lawyer about how to protect his assets if you keep being difficult. He's not going to let you take him to the cleaners. He's smart. He's made sure you'll get next to nothing if you fight this. Bingo. I straightened up, clutching my phone, my face a mask of distress. Protect his assets? What do you mean? Lauren smirked, clearly enjoying her perceived power. Let's just say Daryl knows how to play the game. You won't win, so just give up. Sign, and maybe he'll even throw in a little extra for your troubles out of pity. She flicked her hair. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a spin class, and unlike some people, I like to keep myself in shape. She sauntered off, leaving me standing amidst the brightly colored cereal boxes, my recording still silently capturing the ambient store noise. Later that evening, I called my best friend June. She'd been my rock through all of this, offering a quiet, unwavering stream of support without ever prying too deeply. I recounted the encounter with Lauren, pitching my voice with distress, emphasizing Lauren's cruelty and threats. Oh, Nora, that's awful, June said, her sympathy genuine. She sounds like a horrible person. And Daryl putting her up to that? Despicable. I just feel so intimidated, I said, letting a sob escape. You're stronger than you think, June said softly. There was a pause, and then she added, her voice laced with something I couldn't quite decipher. A knowingness, perhaps. You know, Nora, sometimes the quietest people are the ones with the most going on underneath. Don't let them underestimate you. I smiled. June didn't know the details, not really. I hadn't burdened her with the prenup or the full extent of my counter-offensive. But she knew me. She sensed the steel beneath the silk. The recording of Lauren wasn't just a general record of her nastiness. Her explicit mention of Daryl's plans to protect his assets and her certainty that I would get next to nothing if I fought, that was gold. Pure, unadulterated proof of his intent to defraud, to hide assets, to ensure the divorce left me destitute while he sailed off into the sunset with his new bride and our money. Maria would be thrilled. The following Monday, the day before the scheduled meeting, Daryl called again. His voice was tight with controlled fury. Nora, this is it. My final offer is on the table. Owen has it. You sign it at the meeting tomorrow, or I swear to God I will make your life a living hell in court. I will drag your name through the mud. I will fight you for every single penny. Do you understand me? The final offer he was referring to was, of course, the same insulting pittance he'd been peddling all along. I I understand, Daryl, I said, my voice barely a whisper. He hung up without another word. I immediately called Maria. He just delivered his ultimatum, I said, a strange sense of calm washing over me. He's given me until tomorrow's meeting to sign his final offer. Is it still the insulting one? Maria asked, though she already knew the answer. Of course. There was a pause, then Maria said, so he's boxed himself in. He's left no room for negotiation on his end, assuming you're about to capitulate completely. Exactly, I replied. A slow smile spread across my face. I think he's ready for the truth, Maria. Don't you? Oh, I think he's more than ready, Maria said, her voice purring with anticipation. He's practically begging for it. The week leading up to the lawyers' meeting was a strange paradox. Outwardly, I escalated my performance of a woman on the verge of a complete breakdown. Inwardly, a profound, almost unnerving calm had settled over me. I finalized every last detail with Maria. The evidence was collated, indexed, and duplicated. The recording of Lauren's delightful little speech in the grocery store had been transcribed and notarized. Mr. Henderson's final report, complete with photos of Darrell moving Lauren's belongings into what he clearly considered his new bachelor pad, paid for with our money, naturally, was added to the pile. Maria assured me everything was beyond airtight. He won't know what hit him, she'd said, her eyes sparkling with professional zeal during our last prep meeting. This isn't just a case, Nora. This is a public service. My phone calls with Darrell became masterpieces of feigned despair. During one particularly memorable exchange, he outlined his and Lauren's honeymoon plans, a month-long tour of Italy, first class all the way. It's going to be epic, Nora, he gloated. A fresh start. You should try to find one too, you know. Maybe take up a hobby, knitting or something. That sounds wonderful for you, Darrell, I managed, injecting a pathetic wobble into my voice. Real tears pricked my eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness for his new life. They were tears of sheer, unadulterated anticipation for the moment his epic plans would collide with the brick wall of reality I was about to erect. And about the house, he continued, his tone magnanimous, you can keep some of the sentimental junk, I guess. The old photo albums, your grandmother's china, that sort of thing. Lauren's got great taste. She'll want to redecorate completely when well, you know. He meant when he inevitably took possession of the house, he thought I'd be forced to sell for a pittance. That's very generous of you, Darrell, I whispered. Yeah, well, I'm a generous guy. The audacity. In the evenings after these draining calls, I moved with quiet efficiency. I wasn't packing sentimental junk. I was carefully wrapping and boxing my truly valuable personal items. My grandmother's actual silver, not just the china, first edition books I'd collected over years, artwork I'd bought with my own earnings before Daryl's ventures had bled me dry. These weren't marital assets. They were mine, and they were going into secure storage, far away from his greedy, presumptuous grasp. The junk he could have. The house felt different, lighter somehow, as if it too was anticipating a cleansing. I walked through the rooms not with sadness, but with a sense of impending reclamation. This was my home. I had chosen the paint colors, tended the garden, filled it with love and hope, even when he had offered none in return. The night before the meeting, I found myself standing in front of the hallway mirror, an old framed photograph in my hands. It was Darrell and me, taken on our honeymoon, 15 years younger, faces bright with what I had then believed was a shared future. He was smiling, a genuine smile, not the smug smirk he wore now. I looked younger, softer, more naive. A fleeting pang, sharp and unexpected, pierced through my resolve, a sadness for the woman I had been, for the love I thought we'd had, for the years wasted on a man who was, at his core, a selfish, hollow shell. But it was just a pang. It passed as quickly as it came, replaced by a cold, hard fury at his betrayal, at the casual cruelty with which he had tried to discard me, and beneath that fury a fierce, almost giddy satisfaction for the justice that was now less than 12 hours away. I placed the photo face down on the hall table. Some memories didn't deserve to be looked at. I slept surprisingly well, a deep, dreamless sleep. The morning of the meeting dawned clear and bright, a perfect autumn day. I stood before my bedroom mirror, not the full-length one in the hallway. This was my space. I looked at my reflection. The devastated mask I had worn for months was gone. The woman looking back at me was different. Her eyes were clear, her jaw set. There were lines of strain around her eyes, yes, the price of the past few months, but there was also a strength there, a resilience I hadn't seen in a long time. Today, I wasn't playing a part. Today, I was myself, strong, determined, and ready. I chose my outfit with care, a sharply tailored charcoal gray suit, a crisp white blouse. Professional, unflappable. My makeup was understated, my hair pulled back in a sleek chignon. I looked like a woman who meant business. I picked up my briefcase. It was slim, elegant. Inside, it contained only my phone, a tube of bold red lipstick for a post-victory touch-up, and my car keys. Maria had everything else, all the ammunition, all the proof, all the power. A final glance in the mirror, a small, almost imperceptible nod to the woman staring back. Let's go, I whispered. The calm was still there, a steady, unwavering core. But now it was overlaid with a thrilling, electric hum of anticipation. The storm was about to break, and I was the one holding the lightning. The conference room at Owen Baker's law firm was exactly as I'd pictured: mahogany table, leather chairs, an air of expensive, self important seriousness. Darrell was already there, lounging in his chair like he owned the place, a smug grin plastered on his face. Lauren sat beside him, practically preening, her hand resting possessively on his arm. She shot me a look of pure, triumphant disdain as I walked in, Maria at my side. If cats could sneer, Lauren would have been a champion. Owen, a portly man with a booming voice and an air of perpetual, slightly condescending amusement, gestured towards the empty chairs opposite them. Nora, Maria, glad you could make it. Punctual, I see. He chuckled as if he'd made a witty remark. We sat. The tension in the room was thick enough to spread on toast. Well, Owen began, shuffling a small stack of papers. As you know, Darrell has been more than patient. He's made a very generous final offer, which I trust you've advised your client to accept, Maria. He slid the papers across the table. Darrell's final settlement. I didn't even glance at it. I looked at Maria. She gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. Showtime. Before Ms. Nora signs anything, Mr. Baker, Maria began, her voice calm and measured, cutting through Owen's bluster like a knife. We have a few items we'd like to present for your and Mr. Warren's consideration. Darrell snorted. More delays? What is it now, Nora? Want the good china back? Lauren giggled. Maria ignored them. From her sleek leather briefcase, she began to produce items, laying them out on the polished table with deliberate precision. First, a glossy 8x10 photo, Darrell and Lauren kissing passionately outside the five-star hotel. Then another, Lauren, beaming, sporting the new diamond engagement ring. Darrell's smile faltered slightly. Owen looked annoyed. Really, Maria? A few holiday snaps. We all know Darrell has moved on. That's why we're here. There's more than a few, Owen, Maria said smoothly. She laid out a series of bank statements, highlighted sections showing extravagant purchases, designer handbags for Lauren, five-star hotel stays, the down payment on the cherry red sports car, all from the joint account Darrell had been systematically draining. And then there are the messages, Maria continued, placing a bound document on the table, explicit messages detailing the affair retrieved from a cloud account Mr. Warren apparently forgot he shared with his wife. Darrell's face was starting to lose its smugness. He shot a nervous glance at Owen, who was frowning but still looked more irritated than concerned. They clearly thought this was just a desperate, last-ditch attempt to negotiate a slightly better but still pitiful settlement. This is all very dramatic, Owen said, trying to regain control. But it doesn't change the fundamental facts. The marriage is over. Darrell is prepared to be fair. Oh, we agree the marriage is over, Maria said, her voice dropping slightly, acquiring a steely edge. And we're very interested in fairness. She paused, letting the silence stretch for a beat. Then, from her briefcase, she produced one final document. It was older, the paper slightly yellowed at the edges, but its importance radiated from it like a physical force. And then there's this formality, Mr. Warren, Maria said, her eyes locking onto Darrell's. The one you signed 15 years ago. She placed the prenuptial agreement directly in front of him. Darrell stared at it, his brow furrowed in confusion, then a flicker of dawning, horrified recognition. Lauren peered at it, her perfectly plucked eyebrows drawing together. Owen leaned forward, his jovial demeanor vanishing completely. I I don't understand, Darrell stammered, his voice suddenly hoarse. Allow me to enlighten you, Maria said. Her voice was clear, ringing with authority as she began to read. Clause 7, subsections B, infidelity. In the event that the marriage is dissolved due to proven adultery on the part of the party initiating said dissolution. She read on, her voice unwavering, detailing every consequence. The forfeiture of his claims on the primary marital home, the 70% share of all other marital assets awarded to me, the substantial claim on his future earnings for a period of 5 years as compensatory damages. The color drained from Darrell's face with every word Maria uttered. He looked like he'd been punched in the gut. Lauren's triumphant sneer had melted into a mask of slack-jawed disbelief, then slowly into dawning panic. Her eyes darted from the document to Darrell, then to me, wide and horrified. Owen Baker snatched up the prenup, his hands visibly trembling as he scanned the clauses. He looked stunned, utterly blindsided. I I wasn't aware of this document's full implications, he stammered, his professional composure shattering. Daryl, you never mentioned the specifics of this. Daryl wasn't listening. He was staring at the prenup, his face a ghastly shade of pale. He reached for a pen on the table, perhaps out of reflex, but his fingers were numb. The pen slipped, clattering onto the mahogany. The sound was deafening in the sudden, suffocating silence. He was processing it. The piece of paper he'd dismissed as a mere formality, the one he'd signed with such arrogant nonchalance, had just detonated his entire future. He finally lifted his head, his eyes wild and disbelieving, finding mine. His face was a mask of fury, disbelief, and dawning terror. You! He sputtered, his voice cracking. You planned this, all along. The crying, the weakness. It was all an act. I met his gaze, my own cool, level, and utterly devoid of the pity he'd so readily offered me. You made your bed, Daryl, I said, my voice quiet but carrying the weight of 15 years of quiet observation and a meticulously executed plan. Now you get to lie in it, alone, and broke. Lauren let out a small, choked sob. Not for Daryl, I noted with grim satisfaction. For her lost sports cars, her designer bags, her first class tickets to Italy, her golden ticket had just gone up in smoke. The immediate aftermath in that conference room was pure, unadulterated chaos. Daryl started yelling, a torrent of accusations and disbelief. Owen Baker, looking like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes, tried feebly to interject, to find some loophole, some way out of the ironclad trap my father's lawyer had set. Lauren just sat there, tears streaming down her perfectly made up face, muttering, But the wedding, the house. Maria, a bastion of calm in the storm, simply gathered her papers. Our position is clear, gentlemen. The prenup is valid and its terms are non negotiable. We expect full compliance. She stood. We'll await your formal acceptance of these terms. You have our contact information. We walked out, leaving them in the wreckage of Daryl's arrogance. The sound of his enraged shouting followed us down the hallway. I didn't look back. Daryl, predictably, tried to fight. Owen, probably under immense pressure and embarrassment, filed motions, claimed coercion, undue influence, anything he could think of. It was futile. The prenup was a fortress, just as Maria had said. Each legal challenge was swatted down, costing Daryl more money he didn't have, diminishing the already shrinking pot he was desperately trying to protect. Owen Baker's reputation took a significant hit. Word gets around in legal circles about lawyers who get so thoroughly outmaneuvered. Lauren, true to her materialistic core, didn't stick around for the financial fallout. Within weeks of the disastrous meeting, once it became clear that Daryl's promises of a lavish future were built on sand, she was gone. The cherry red sports car was repossessed. The engagement ring, I later heard through the grapevine, was discovered to be a surprisingly good cubic zirconia. Daryl, ever the cheapskate when it wasn't about his own immediate gratification, had apparently even faked that. Daryl was forced to sell his beloved golf clubs, his designer watches, anything of value to cover his mounting legal fees and the initial payments he owed me under the prenup. He moved out of the sleek bachelor pad, which the landlord was only too happy to take back given the unpaid rent, and into a tiny, depressing apartment on the outskirts of town. His family, especially Marin, were initially shocked into silence. Then came the calls. Not to Daryl, offering support, but to me. Nora, dear. Marin's voice was honey-sweet, a stark contrast to her previous lectures. Perhaps we could talk. About Daryl. He's made a mistake. A terrible mistake, but he's still my son. Surely you can find it in your heart to be lenient? Marin, I replied, my voice polite but firm. Daryl made his choices. He is now living with the consequences of those choices as stipulated in a legally binding document he signed willingly. There is nothing further to discuss. I then blocked her number. True to the prenup, I got everything. The house, free and clear, the lion's share of the marital assets, what was left of them after Daryl's spending spree, and the first of many substantial checks from his future earnings arrived, as per the agreement, a painful but necessary reminder for him of his folly. I sold the large family home. It held too many ghosts, too many memories of a life that was ultimately a lie. I bought a chic, modern apartment downtown, filled with light and art, a space that was entirely mine. I invested wisely with Maria's continued astute advice, and I dusted off my old portfolio, reached out to contacts, and restarted the graphic design career I'd put on hold for 15 years. Clients came, slowly at first, then steadily. My work was good. I was good. The pain of his betrayal had been real, searing, but the meticulous planning, the quiet execution of my revenge, that brought a satisfaction so deep, so exquisite, it was almost a physical sensation. It wasn't just about the money or the assets. It was about justice. It was about karma, finally delivered with a little help from a well drafted legal document and a woman who'd had enough. There was no guilt, none, only a profound sense of closure, of empowerment. The wasted years? Yes, a twinge of bitterness for those, for the youth and energy poured into a man who deserved none of it, but it was overshadowed by the victory, by the knowledge that I had not just survived, but triumphed. Sometimes I think about sharing my story anonymously online, perhaps on one of those forums where people recount their tales of pro revenge. Maybe it would inspire someone else, someone feeling trapped or underestimated. Tonight, I'm sitting on my new balcony, a glass of excellent wine in hand, looking out over the glittering city lights. My city, my life, free, independent, secure, built on the ashes of my ex husband's hubris. Karma, I have learned, can sometimes be a slow, meandering force, but every now and then it appreciates a well drawn map and a clear set of directions. I was more than happy to provide both. My gaze is fixed firmly on the future, a future I'm building for myself, by myself, and it looks incredibly bright. The satisfaction of a battle hard won, a quiet, steady hum beneath the surface of my new, unencumbered life. He thought he was closing a chapter. He had no idea I was writing a whole new book, and this one was all mine.
The air was filled with excitement as the rehearsal dinner for my daughter Emma's wedding started. I was so proud watching her stand next to her fiancé Jason, enjoying the good wishes from everyone. I had no idea that the happy mood would soon be ruined by someone I had tried so hard to accept as my own. "May I have everyone's attention, please?" Emma suddenly called out, making the room go quiet. My husband Walter and I looked at each other, confused, as she held up her glass. "I need to talk about something important," she announced, staring coldly at me. "Helen, you call yourself my stepmom, but really you're just an unwelcome stranger in our lives." The room filled with gasps as Walter turned pale. It felt like a punch in the stomach, her harsh words knocking the breath out of me. "Emma, what do you mean by this?" Walter asked, his voice shaking. "Don't be shocked, Dad," she snapped. "You know she's been trying to push her way into our family from the start. I'm done acting like she's my mom. She's not, and she never will be." Her mean words cut through me. I looked for any sign of the kind girl I knew in her face, but saw only dislike and anger. "Emma, please, not here," I begged, my voice breaking. "Why not?" she retorted. "It's my day, and I'll say what I want." Walter clenched his fists, trying to stay calm. "Enough," he said firmly. "We're leaving." Emma just shrugged, smirking as she turned away from us. We had to walk out past all the shocked guests, their stares and whispers making me feel judged as we left. I must have done something to make my stepdaughter hate me so much. The tears I had been holding back finally fell, and I knew then that thing would never be the same. In the car, Walter was very tense, gripping the steering wheel tightly, his face showing both anger and pain. "I don't know what's gotten into her, Helen," he said, his voice tight. "But I promise I won't let her treat you this way." I just nodded, too upset to talk, as we drove away from what was supposed to be a happy event. I kept wondering what had changed the sweet, loving girl I knew, and what difficult times might be ahead for us after her hurtful outburst. Maybe Emma began to dislike me when I married her father and became her stepmother, or perhaps it started even before that, influenced by her mother, Julie. Julie had once told her, as she gently touched her hair, "No one can ever replace your real mother." Those words had left a bad feeling, but I tried to ignore it, hoping to create a warm relationship with Emma. I'm not trying to replace anyone, I had assured her softly. I just want us to be friends. She nodded, but her empty look showed no warmth. It was like there was already a wall between us, built stronger by her mother's mean comments. At first, Emma was polite, though a bit cold. But as time went on, her true feelings started to show. Why are you always trying to butt into my life? She snapped one day when I just asked about her weekend plans. Walter gave her a stern look. Emma, don't talk to your mother like that. She's not my mother, Emma yelled back, anger twisting her face. She left the room quickly, leaving me stunned by her harsh words. Walter just shook his head, looking disappointed and resigned. From then on, Emma made it clear she didn't like me. She would roll her eyes when I came into a room and make mean comments quietly. If I tried to help or ask something, she would snap back as if she couldn't stand me being around. You're not fooling anyone with your fake concern, she sneered one day. Her dislike for me was obvious, and it hurt. I asked if she needed a ride to her friend's house. Emma, that's enough, Walter warned, losing his patience, but she didn't listen. It became clear that her mom, Julie, was fueling Emma's growing dislike for me. Whenever we met, Julie's fake smile hardly hid her joy in seeing our troubled relationship. I don't know what you've done to make my daughter dislike you, she would say with a sly grin, but you'll just have to deal with the consequences. And deal with them I did. Emma's hostility grew like an untreated wound, hurting our family life more every day. I had no idea her coldness was just the start of even worse behavior that seemed impossible to stop. After she quit college, with no clear goals, she became even meaner, using her complaints to try to get money from us. Give me $10,000, or I'll tell everyone how awful you are as a stepmom, she threatened one day in the kitchen. I was shocked. Emma, why are you saying this? I've always tried to be nice to you. Save it, she snapped. Just give me the money, and I'll leave you alone for a bit. I felt desperate. I don't have that kind of money, I told her. Her eyes narrowed. Then find it, unless you want everyone to know your secrets. From then on, it was a constant pattern. Emma demanded more and more money, and her threats got worse if I said no. Walter was stuck in the middle, trying to please both of us while figuring out why his daughter had changed so much. Please, just give her what she wants, he pleaded one night after yet another big fight. I can't take all this fighting, but I knew that giving in would only make her more demanding, so I stood firm, even as Emma became more cunning. You think you're so great with your job at the school, she mocked. Just wait until everyone knows the truth about you. Her veiled threat really scared me. I could only imagine the kind of hurtful lies she could tell, which would affect my colleagues and the students I was committed to helping. Through all of this, Julie was always there, her mean smile supporting her daughter's terrible actions. You reap what you sow, Helen, she sneered during one of her frequent unwanted visits. Maybe if you were a better stepmom, Emma wouldn't be like this. Her words hurt deeply, stirring up a storm of emotions inside me: anger, pain, and betrayal. But even as I felt overwhelmed, a small spark of determination started to grow in me. I couldn't just let things happen to me anymore. If Emma wanted a fight, then I was ready to stand up to her and show everyone the kind of person she really was. And if Julie thought she could keep causing trouble from behind the scenes, she was mistaken. It was time to stop being nice. From then on, I was determined to do whatever it took to protect my family, even if it meant taking drastic steps I never thought I would. As Emma's wedding day got closer, her demands and disrespect became worse. It seemed like she enjoyed making my life difficult, pushing me to my limits. One evening, she walked right into the living room and said, I need another $8,000 for my dress alterations, without even saying hello. Walter gave me a look, hoping I would give in, but I had enough. No, Emma, enough is enough. She looked surprised and said mockingly, Oh, and what are you going to do about it, Helen? Go cry to Daddy like you always do. My fists clenched at my sides, anger rushing through me. "You ungrateful child. Everything your father and I have done, we did for you, and this is how you repay us." Emma laughed loudly, the sound as annoying as nails on a chalkboard. "Oh, please, don't act so righteous. We both know you're just a pathetic, insecure woman trying to buy your way into our family." That hurt more than I wanted to admit, but before I could reply, she hit me with another harsh comment. "Do you think the school wants a washed-up loser like you around their students? Wait until they hear about your little drinking problem." My heart sank as I realized how low she was willing to go. She planned to ruin my career and reputation with her lies. "Emma, that's enough," Walter shouted, his face red with anger, but she just smirked, enjoying the chaos she had created. At that moment, something in me changed. I felt a strong resolve build up, making me firm against the storm of emotions threatening to overwhelm me. I was done being her victim. "Get out," I said firmly, my voice calm but intense. "And don't come back until you can behave like a decent person." Emma looked surprised at my strong reaction, but then sneered and came closer, her breath warm on my face. "You'll regret this, Helen. I promise you that." With those final words, she stormed out, leaving a heavy silence behind her. Walter watched her leave, his face showing both shock and sadness. "I'm sorry, Helen. I don't know what's gotten into her," he said tiredly. But I understood now, this wasn't a sudden change. It was the result of long-held bitterness and manipulation, driven by Julie's harmful influence. As I thought about Emma's threats, a firm resolve formed within me. She thought she could destroy my life whenever she wanted with her venomous lies. She was very wrong. If it was a fight she wanted, then I was ready to fight back, and this time I wouldn't play by her rules. Her threats kept replaying in my mind, fueling my determination to show everyone her true character before it was too late. I knew I couldn't count on Walter. His love for his daughter blinded him to the person she had become. I had to act on my own to protect myself and our family. That's when Roger came into the picture. He'd had dated Emma a few years ago, before her behavior turned so manipulative and selfish. A chance meeting at the grocery store led to a conversation, and soon things started to make sense. Roger helped me see that Emma was not who I thought she was. Sean shared with me, looking very sorry, "She lied about you and Walter." All of it was lies. I felt a chill as he described how Emma had portrayed me as a controlling stepmom trying to push my way into their close family, and how she made Walter out to be a harsh tyrant. I believed everything she said, Sean admitted, embarrassed. She seemed so believable, full of anger. It wasn't until we split up that I started to see the truth. As he talked, a clearer image of Emma's harmful behavior appeared. She had spun a web of lies for years to turn everyone against me, influenced heavily by her mom, Julie, who was like a master at controlling her. From the start, she's been filling Emma's head with twisted thoughts about you trying to take her mom's place, Sean told me, which made me feel sick as everything started to make sense. All this time, I was the target of their mean plan, painted as the bad guy in their story. But Sean had more to say. He explained that Emma's upcoming wedding was just a cold-hearted plan to get more money and status. "She doesn't love Jason," he said dismissively. "She's just using him to get the lifestyle she wants. Once she's done with him, she'll move on to the next guy." Hearing this confirmed my doubts about Emma's shallow feelings, but it was still hard to accept. After talking with Sean, my head was spinning with all he had told me. For too long, I had let Emma and Julie control the story. Now, with the truth on my side, I was ready to confront them, to break apart their fake story, and show everyone what was really going on. No more being the victim, no more being scared of their threats and lies. It was time to fight back. The day of Emma's wedding was sunny, but inside the church, the air was tense. As I watched her get ready, admiring herself in the mirror, a firm resolve grew in me. Today, the truth would come out. Julie, fixing Emma's veil, cooed, "You look beautiful, sweetheart, just like a princess on her special day." Emma smiled, soaking up her mother's compliments. Seeing this, my stomach turned. Yes, it was like a real-life fairy tale, but I knew the truth behind the facade. I couldn't help but make a sarcastic comment, complete with a handsome prince and a wicked stepmother. Julie glared at me, but Emma just laughed, not seeming to care about the meaning behind my words. "Speaking of wicked stepmothers," she said coldly, "I'm surprised you even showed up, Helen, after how you've treated me. I half expected you to boycott the whole thing." I laughed bitterly. Oh, believe me, I thought about it, but I wouldn't miss this for the world. Before she could say anything else, Walter appeared with a forced smile. "Everything okay in here?" he asked. "Just peachy, Dad," Emma replied sweetly, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Helen and I were just having a little heart-to-heart. Walter looked like he wanted to ignore the tension. "Well, it's almost time. You ready, kiddo?" Emma nodded, suddenly looking excited to walk down the aisle. As the ceremony began and the music played, I took a deep breath, preparing myself. The ceremony went by quickly, with empty vows and fake smiles. But as Jason and Emma were about to kiss, I knew I had to speak up. "Stop!" I shouted, my voice echoing in the quiet church. Everyone gasped and looked at me. Emma's face twisted in anger, her fists clenched. "What is the meaning of this?" she hissed, her voice shaking with rage. Taking another deep breath, I looked at her firmly. "The meaning, Emma, is that I can't just watch you lie and manipulate everyone anymore." Julie's face went white as she realized what was happening. Before she could say anything, I continued, pulling out strong evidence that Scene had given me. This included texts, emails, and recordings that exposed Emma's deceit. "For years, you've lied and turned everyone against me while acting like the victim," I announced confidently. "Not anymore. It's time for everyone to know the truth." As I showed everyone the proof of her dishonesty and selfish plans, the room went silent. Emma's composure broke, and her face twisted into an angry snarl. "You liar," she shouted, lunging at me. "How dare you ruin my special day?" But it was too late. The truth was out there for everyone to see. Jason's family looked shocked and disgusted. The crowd's reactions showed that Emma's carefully built facade was collapsing. Standing there, alone and exposed, she seemed like a shadow of the person she used to be. I felt a mix of pity and triumph. The battle was over, and I had won by revealing the harsh truth that had been hidden for too long. The impact of my revelation was like an explosion, breaking apart the illusions we had all lived with. As the quiet turned to noise from the shocked crowd, I prepared myself for the confrontation. "How could you?" Emma yelled, anger written all over her face. "This was supposed to be my perfect day." "Your perfect day was built on lies," I replied calmly, despite the emotional turmoil inside. "Did you really think you could keep deceiving everyone forever?" She tried to answer, but stopped when Jason stepped forward, his face full of disbelief and heartbreak. "Is it true?" he asked desperately, hoping she would deny everything. "Were you just using me this whole time?" For a moment, I almost felt bad for her. Then she smirked, her cold, calculating gaze returning. "Of course not, baby," she said, reaching out to touch his cheek. "You know how much I love you. Helen is just trying to cause trouble like she always does." Emma's words made me clench my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. I wanted to wipe that fake look of innocence off her face. Didn't she realize it was all over? Apparently not, as she turned her angry look back to me. "This is all your fault," she hissed. "If you had just left things alone, none of this would be happening." Suddenly, a loud voice interrupted us. I turned to see Walter, his face red with anger and embarrassment. "I can't believe what I'm hearing," he said, shaking his head slowly. "My own daughter, lying and using everyone for her own selfish needs." Emma tried to say something, but no words came out, For once, she was speechless, shocked by her father's disappointment. "I don't know you anymore," Walter continued, his voice full of sadness. "The sweet, loving girl I raised, she's gone, isn't she?" The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the weight of his words. Emma and Julie, her mother, locked eyes, silently challenging each other. Finally, Julie spoke harshly. "Well," she demanded, staring hard at her daughter, "aren't you going to defend yourself?" But Emma just stood there, defeated, looking smaller and more defeated than ever. With a disgusted snort, Julie stormed out, followed by Jason's family, their faces showing everything from pity to disgust. And just like that, it was over. The grand event Emma had carefully planned lay in ruins, her dreams shattered. As Jason left the church, his face filled with pain, I felt a bit sorry for him. He was just another pawn in Emma's game, used and discarded at her whim. But that feeling was quickly replaced by a grim satisfaction. The truth was out, and there would be no more lies, no more games. Emma would now taste the bitter results of her actions. In the days following the ruined wedding, chaos ensued as news of Emma's lies spread. She became an outcast in the community she had once hoped to rule. I'll never forget Emma's face when she showed up at her mother Julie's doorstep, desperately looking for help. "Please, Mom," she begged, her voice full of tears she was trying to hold back. "You have to help me. I have nowhere else to go." But Julie just looked at her with disgust and a bit of pity, her lips twisting into a sneer. "Help you?" she scoffed, her laugh bitter. "After the mess you made in public, embarrassing yourself and our family." Emma stepped back, shocked. "But you're my mother. You're supposed to support me no matter what." "There are no sides anymore," Julie replied slowly, shaking her head. "You've destroyed all your relationships, pushed away everyone who cared about you with your endless greed and lies." Her harsh words cut deep, each one like a sharp blade. I could see the moment Emma realized the truth, felt the full weight of her loneliness. "You can't mean that," she whispered, reaching out a shaky hand. "Mom, please." But Julie stepped back, her face cold and unfeeling. "I don't know who you are anymore," she said flatly. "The daughter I raised would never sink so low. You've made your bed, Emma. Now you can lie in it alone." With those final harsh words, she turned and went back inside, leaving Emma alone on the doorstep, broken. In the weeks that followed, I watched as Emma, once proud and entitled, was worn down by the consequences of her actions. The trendy bars and fancy stores she used to visit now looked at her with barely hidden contempt, whispers and stares following her. Even her so-called friends deserted her, not wanting to be linked with such a public disgrace. Through it all, Walter and I stood firm, our relationship strengthened in the ordeal of her betrayal. "I'm sorry it came to this," Walter said one evening as we watched Emma pass by, her head down in shame. "But you were right all along." I didn't say anything, just squeezed his hand. Words felt too small in the face of such a harsh reality. As things settled and our community began to recover from the shock of Emma's lies, Walter and I received a lot of support and thanks. We had helped many families and students, and now they showed their gratitude. Everyone we had helped rallied around us, thanking us for standing up to the manipulation and deceit that had almost broken us apart. In those moments of connection, seeing the true depth of human kindness and resilience, I found peace and purpose that I had missed during the worst days of Emma's destructive actions. She had tried to break me down, to make me just a small part of her own big story, but in the end, her own selfishness was her downfall. It stripped away her masks and lies, showing her true empty self. As for me and Walter, we came out of this stronger and wiser. If our experience can inspire others to stand strong against manipulation and deceit, and to value honesty and integrity above all, then maybe some good can still come from the ruins of Emma's shattered dreams.
In a situation that caught me completely off guard, it turned out there wasn't a spot reserved for me during a family trip I was hesitant about from the start. This journey was meant to take us to a luxurious hotel, a setting I was not eagerly anticipating. My husband, Henry, seemed to ignore the obvious tension directed towards me and chose to walk away, promising we'd reconnect at the hotel's checkout. Left alone, I watched as they vanished into the opulence of the hotel. My name is Olivia, and this year marked my 32nd birthday. I'm a stay-at-home mom, sharing my life with Henry, my mother-in-law Sophia, and my 5-year-old son, Jack. Henry and I first crossed paths on a blind date 5 years back, leading us to tie the knot and enjoy what appeared to be a loving and dispute-free life, at least in the eyes of our neighbors. Our bliss was further solidified 4 years into our marriage with the birth of our son, Jack. Despite his busy schedule, Henry was a hands-on dad, contributing significantly to childcare, leaving me with no real grievances. Our household dynamics took a hit about 3 months ago following the death of my father-in-law, necessitating Sophia's move into our home. It had been ages since I last saw her, with our only encounters being at our wedding and a visit to announce our engagement. Unfortunately, my initial impressions of Sophia were far from favorable, in stark contrast to the warmth and kindness shown by my father-in-law. Sophia's skepticism about my suitability as Henry's wife was palpable, questioning his choice in me and predicting a future filled with challenges. Despite Henry's efforts to win her over, her disapproving gaze lingered. Eventually, she conceded, influenced by her husband and Henry, though her upfront criticisms in my presence were hard to forget and remain a point of contention to this day. Feeling a bit anxious about how things would pan out, I decided to adopt a positive attitude and do my best to get along with Sophia once she moved in with us. When she arrived, along with her things, I jumped in to help with the unpacking. Sophia was surprisingly sweet with Jack, who had just turned 5, showering him with attention while Henry and I sorted through her belongings. I took charge of organizing the smaller items while Henry handled the heavier lifting. The process was pretty smooth, and before I knew it, only a few bits and pieces were left for me to arrange. During the unpacking, I placed a fake plant in a spot I thought would brighten up the room. However, Sophia questioned my choice, suggesting a different location. Her tone felt a bit harsh, but I brushed it off, thinking maybe she just had a strong opinion about room aesthetics. I moved the plant without arguing, hoping to keep the peace. Meanwhile, Sophia spent some time with Jack and then turned her attention to the TV, leaving me to juggle watching Jack and finishing up the unpacking. Henry was taking a well-deserved break after all the heavy lifting, so I didn't want to disturb him. I wrapped up with a mix of emotions, trying to convince myself that Sophia was just adjusting to her new surroundings, which helped me set aside my growing irritation. However, Sophia's critiques became a daily occurrence. One morning, after getting up early to prepare breakfast for everyone, I decided to take a short break. That's when Sophia commented on the state of the house, urging me to clean instead of resting. Her relentless criticism, combined with her absence during the day and lack of contribution, started to wear me down mentally. I eventually brought up my concerns to Henry, hoping for some support, but his response was disappointing. He suggested I should be more understanding, considering the recent loss of his father. His lack of intervention left me feeling helpless and alone. My nights ended with me lying in bed, overwhelmed and on the brink of tears, thinking about my situation. On one such night, Jack's cries broke the silence, but my exhaustion made it difficult to get up immediately. That's when Sophia burst into my room, berating me for not tending to my son right away, accusing me of neglecting my responsibilities as a mother. Her words stung, but wanting to avoid further conflict, I silently got up and went to comfort Jack, carrying the weight of the day's tensions with me. That night, sleep evaded me entirely. With Henry having the day off, I mulled over what special dish to prepare for lunch, wanting to make something delightful for everyone. As I was considering my options, Sophia began to get lunch ready. When she laid out the meals, it became apparent that a plate was missing mine. I've prepared food for Henry, who works tirelessly, and my beloved grandson. Naturally, there's nothing for you. You'll have to fend for yourself, she declared. This left me feeling utterly humiliated. It dawned on me then her actions weren't just harsh admonitions. They were deliberate acts of bullying, a realization that hit me hard. I had always tried to see Sophia's behavior as tough love, thinking maybe she was pushing me to be a better partner for Henry. Without this perspective, I felt like I would crumble under the pressure. Unable to retort and feeling increasingly isolated, I poured my heart out to a childhood friend after dropping Jack off at daycare. "This is outright bullying. How are you managing to cope?" she asked, concern lacing her voice. Sharing the ordeal with her, I found myself breaking down, unable to hold back tears any longer. My friend's support was unwavering. "You're stronger than you realize, and you'll get through this. Let's think of a plan," she encouraged, giving me a glimmer of hope. Though our conversation was brief, it lifted a weight off my shoulders. Following her advice, I decided to discreetly record the daily goings-on at home. I picked up an affordable recorder on my way back from picking up Jack and set it up in a hidden spot at home. Amidst my cleaning spree, I stumbled upon a piece of paper that had slipped out of one of Sophia's drawers. It was a personal loan agreement with a staggering sum of $20,000. Shocked, but realizing its potential significance, I pocketed the document. Later that evening, with Sophia back and Henry returning just in time for dinner, we sat down to the usual setting Sophia's complaints. Out of the blue, she mentioned a discount coupon for a luxurious spa hotel she had received from a friend, clearly hinting she wanted to use it. Henry was instantly supportive of the idea, and even Jack seemed thrilled at the prospect. This unexpected turn of events seemed to offer a brief respite from the tension at home, sparking a mix of emotions within me. Truthfully, I wasn't excited at the thought of joining them on the trip, anticipating nothing but discomfort for myself. Yet, surprisingly, Sophia extended an invitation my way, acknowledging my hard work around the house with an offer to tag along. Her unexpected gesture left me stunned, considering her usual behavior towards me. For a moment, I dared to hope her intentions were genuine, not spiteful. That night, I found myself restless, weighing the pros and cons of accepting the invitation. Henry approached me with a plea, expressing his desire for me to accompany them. He explained his dilemma. He couldn't rely on his mother to watch Jack, and managing our son alone on the trip would be too challenging. My frustration with how he had overlooked his mother's treatment towards me bubbled to the surface. "You've never stood up for me against your mother's unfair treatment." "Why should I agree to this?" I retorted, leaving Henry at a loss for words. However, he was persistent, leading me to lay down my terms if I were to consider joining them. In a moment of revelation, I showed him the personal loan agreement I had discovered in Sophia's room, revealing her $30,000 debt. Henry was visibly shocked, unable to fathom his mother's financial burden. He proposed that we assist in settling the debt, a request that put me in a difficult position. Given Sophia's behavior towards me, I was initially reluctant to offer any help. Yet, Henry's earnest plea led me to propose my own conditions for any assistance and my participation in the trip. My demands were clear. Henry needed to intervene whenever Sophia mistreated or overly criticized me. Additionally, I insisted on establishing clear rules for Sophia's behavior to be written and displayed throughout the house. If she failed to adhere to these terms, we would have no choice but to ask her to leave. Henry agreed to my terms, and we decided to implement these changes after our return from the trip. To ensure the rules would be in place upon our return, I arranged for my friend to post them around the house in our absence. We agreed to maintain a facade of normalcy until the trip concluded, after which we would confront the situation head-on. With this plan in place, I reluctantly agreed to join the trip, informing Sophia of my decision the following day. Deciding to join them on the trip, I reminded myself to stay patient just a bit longer. On the departure day, as Henry was gathering everyone's luggage, Sophia immediately showed her true colors. "Let Olivia handle the bags," she demanded, a clear attempt to belittle me right from the start. Henry gave me a look of apology, but to avoid any conflict, I complied, albeit reluctantly. The bags were heavier than I expected, and managing them while also looking after Jack was no small feat. I silently worried about my dwindling energy reserves, fearing I wouldn't have any left to enjoy our luxurious hotel destination. The journey to the hotel involved a scenic Amtrak ride followed by a drive through mountainous terrain. The hotel itself was a sight to behold, with its stunning exterior and interior exuding luxury. Jack's excitement was palpable as he darted around exploring, while Sophia seemed to appreciate the decor before heading to the front desk for our check-in. As I was about to make my way to our room, Sophia's next words hit me like a ton of bricks. "Were you planning to stay with us?" "I only booked for the 5 of us." Confusion washed over me as I tried to process what she was saying. The stark realization dawned on me that her invitation was a ruse to exploit me as a makeshift porter, with no real intention of including me in their stay. "Then where should I sleep?" I inquired, to which she coldly responded, "I don't know, and I don't care. Maybe you can camp out somewhere around here." Her words were a clear dismissal, suggesting I was to fend for myself outdoors. Her cruelty left me seething with anger, but before I could confront her, she and my family vanished into the hotel, leaving me stranded in the lobby. Feeling utterly defeated, I exited the hotel, overwhelmed by the situation. Henry's feeble apology via message did nothing to console me. By noon, I found myself alone, grabbing lunch at a nearby cafe and eventually seeking refuge in an open field, hoping to find solace under the night sky. Just as I settled down, my phone rang. It was my friend, checking in on how the trip was going, unaware of the ordeal I was facing. Her voice was a reminder of the plan we had hatched together, a plan that now seemed worlds away from my current predicament. Before the ordeal unfolded, I had the foresight to provide a copy of my house key to my trusted friend, explaining the potential for trouble. After the shocking turn of events at the hotel, I filled her in on the situation. She was livid on my behalf and offered to come rescue me, but I declined. I knew that leaving would only play into Sophia's hands, something I wasn't willing to let happen. The uncertainty of her future actions weighed heavily on me, prompting a call to a lawyer for advice. I shared my evidence of emotional abuse, considering legal action against her. Although the outcome was contingent on proving premeditation, I was reassured by my lawyer that my evidence was substantial enough to pursue a case. Exhausted mentally and physically, I found solace lying in the grass under the night sky, letting the cool breeze envelop me as I contemplated my next step. The following morning, I reunited with my family and Sophia just in time for checkout. Sophia's immediate jabs about my presumed night outdoors were halted by Henry's intervention, though she swiftly sidestepped to other topics. It was clear Henry had communicated the extremity of her actions to her. Upon our return home, Sophia's outrage was palpable as she encountered the posted rules around the house. Her anger quickly shifted to shock as Henry presented the loan agreement, her complexion turning from red to pale as her secret was laid bare. Under pressure, she confessed to squandering her late husband's life insurance and accumulating debt thereafter. Henry and I stood firm on the consequences we had discussed. Facing eviction and legal action, Sophia listened to the recorded proof of her behavior, her defiance turning to desperation. She pleaded for mercy, promising to adhere to the new house rules and change her ways. Her earnest apology and willingness to reform took me by surprise. It was a moment of vindication, seeing her so humbled and eager to make amends. Reluctantly, I agreed to give her a chance, under the condition that she truly abide by the rules and curtail her aggressive behavior. Her gratitude was palpable, and for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope for a more peaceful coexistence. Just when I thought we had turned a corner, my legs gave way, and I collapsed to the floor. Henry quickly helped me into a chair before turning his frustration towards his mother, his voice laden with disappointment and disbelief. It seemed the revelation of the debt had eroded his respect and trust in her. The thought of being sternly reprimanded by her own son was something Sophia had probably never anticipated, and her frantic apologies reflected her shock. After the confrontation, she spent the day in silence, her gaze lost to the sky, signaling a seismic shift in the household dynamics. The following morning, I stuck to my routine, getting up early to prepare breakfast. Despite the recent upheaval, Sophia slipped into old habits, throwing a barbed comment my way. However, this time, Henry immediately countered her with a firm reminder of their recent discussion, leaving her speechless and retreating to the sofa. I couldn't help but stifle a chuckle at the scene, but focused back on breakfast. Henry's guilt over not defending me sooner was apparent, and his struggle against the woman who raised him was palpable. Yet, I knew his heart was in the right place, and I couldn't fault him for the complexities of his feelings. His heartfelt apology later on, accompanied by tears, reassured me of his support. Over time, Sophia's demeanor towards me softened. While she still made occasional critiques, the underlying hostility seemed to fade. This newfound peace allowed me to breathe easier, fostering a healthier mental state. To manage the debt repayment of $700 a month, Henry and I teamed up, with me taking on a part-time job to contribute financially. Despite her past actions, Sophia took on the responsibility of Jack's daycare runs commendably, earning back some trust. To prevent any further financial missteps, Henry took control of managing her finances. Our family dynamic evolved gradually, inching towards a semblance of harmony. The ordeal taught me a valuable lesson about the complex interplay of love, family, and the challenges of living with a difficult in-law. I had once considered separation as an escape from the harsh criticism and unbearable treatment, but the discovery of the IOU became a catalyst for change, offering a chance to mend fences and strengthen our family unit. Perhaps there was a touch of luck in how things unfolded, but it also underscored the power of resilience and forgiveness in overcoming adversity. Reflecting on everything I've been through, my heart is full of gratitude for my friend's unwavering support. Her listening ear and encouraging words were a beacon of light in my darkest times. Without her, I'm certain the weight of my struggles would have overwhelmed me, possibly leading to a mental breakdown. It's a friendship I vow to treasure deeply. Recalling the hardships fills me with a mix of emotions. Tears well up as I acknowledge the effort I've put into keeping my family afloat. Despite battling depression and lacking the drive to handle daily chores, I persevered. Ensuring my family had a decent life, especially striving to shield my son from any hardship, brings a sense of pride and accomplishment that warms my heart. Forgiving Sophia may be beyond my capacity, but she remains my mother-in-law, and I've chosen to treat her with kindness. Time has a way of softening the sharpest edges of our conflicts. Since those challenging days, years have passed. My son has blossomed, eagerly stepping into his preschool years. We're on the cusp of paying off the debts and are exploring the possibility of moving to a new home, marking a fresh start for our family. Sophia has gradually begun to assist me, easing the once tense atmosphere in our home. My bond with Henry has grown stronger, enriched by our experiences and mutual understanding. We're even contemplating the joy of welcoming another child into our lives. Our family stands on solid ground now, a testament to resilience, love, and the quiet strength that comes from facing life's trials head-on. I'm committed to continuing my efforts, nurturing this stability, and fostering a loving environment for my family.
The day my sister told me she was marrying my fiancé, I smiled and ordered champagne. Not the cheap stuff either, Dom Perignon rose gold, because nothing says congratulations on your betrayal quite like $1,000 bottle of spite. I'm Oakley, and I've spent 29 years being the family disappointment, the quiet one, the steady one, the one who would never amount to much, according to my mother Lucille's favorite refrain. We need to talk, Lacey had texted earlier that morning. Mom's house, important. I knew what was coming, had known for months actually, but I drove to our mother's McMansion anyway, wearing my favorite navy blazer, like armor. They were waiting in the formal living room, Lacey perched on the white leather sofa, Mother standing by the fireplace, both wearing identical expressions of fake concern. Darling, my mother started, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. We have something to tell you, and we want you to know we're here for you. I sat down, crossed my legs, and waited. Roman and I are in love, Lacey blurted out, twisting her fingers together. We've been seeing each other, and he proposed last night. The diamond on her finger could have paid off a small mortgage. My ex-fiancé never did believe in subtlety. How long? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. A few months, Lacey lied. I knew it had been closer to 8. He wasn't happy, sweetie, my mother chimed in. You have to understand, when two people are meant to be together. So, you're saying I wasn't woman enough to keep him? I raised an eyebrow. Well, Mother exchanged glances with Lacey. You were always so focused on your career. Roman needs someone who can support his vision. Be a proper wife. That's when I ordered the champagne. Had it delivered right there to the house. The delivery guy looked confused when I tipped him $100, but I wanted witnesses. Wanted people to remember how calm I was when it all went down. What are you doing? Lacey asked as I popped the cork. Celebrating, I said, pouring 3 glasses. To new beginnings? Oakley, you're taking this surprisingly well, Mother said suspiciously. I handed them each a glass. Why wouldn't I be? Roman deserves to be happy. You've all made that very clear. We thought you'd be upset, Lacey admitted, sipping the champagne nervously. Life's full of surprises, isn't it? I smiled, thinking of the stack of documents in my safe at home. Speaking of which, when's the wedding? 2 weeks, Lacey beamed, relief flooding her face. We're having it at the plaza. You'll come, won't you? Maybe even be a bridesmaid? I took a long sip of champagne, savoring the moment. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Mother relaxed visibly, probably already planning how to spin this to her country club friends. You know, darling, this really is for the best. Roman needs someone who understands his ambitions, and well, you are always more suited to a quieter life. You're absolutely right, Mother. I stood up, smoothing my blazer. Some of us are meant for the spotlight, others prefer to work behind the scenes. Exactly. Lacey jumped up to hug me. I knew you'd understand. You're the best sister ever. I hugged her back, feeling the expensive fabric of her dress. Congratulations, really. I hope you get everything you deserve. I left them celebrating, drove straight home to my apartment in the city. My hands didn't shake until I was inside my private elevator, not from grief, from anticipation. In my home office, I entered the code to my safe. Inside lay months of preparation, contracts, bank statements, recordings, and a USB drive containing enough evidence to destroy an empire. My phone buzzed, a text from Roman. Can we talk? I never meant to hurt you. I typed back, nothing to talk about. Be happy with Lacey. Another buzz. You're amazing, oh. I always said you were the best of them. I smiled at my phone, thinking of the documents he'd signed just last week, thinking he was buying out my share of our joint ventures. Poor Roman, always so focused on the big picture that he missed the fine print. Thanks, Roman, I replied. Good luck with everything. I closed my safe and walked to my floor to ceiling windows, looking out over the city. Mother always said I was too quiet, too passive. She never understood that silence could be a weapon, that patience could be a plan. The champagne had been petty, I'll admit, but sometimes a girl needs to celebrate the moment her trap starts to spring. 1 year earlier, I sat in my cousin Naomi's kitchen, watching her pour 2 glasses of wine. It was the night everything changed, the night I stopped being the good daughter. You're sure about what you heard? Naomi asked, sliding a glass toward me. Crystal clear. I pulled out my phone and played the recording. Roman's voice filled the room, followed by my mother's unmistakable tone. The Brooks family legacy needs someone, stronger, Mother was saying. Oakley's sweet, but Lacey has always been more suited to the spotlight, don't you think? I've been thinking the same thing, Roman replied smoothly. Oakley's great with numbers, but she lacks that killer instinct, the drive to really make it big. Exactly. And you need someone who can match your ambitions. Someone like, I stopped the recording. Naomi's face had turned stormy. Those manipulative little. She cut herself off. How long have you been recording them? 3 months. I took a sip of wine. Ever since I caught Roman texting Lacey at midnight. He said it was about a charity event. And you're still wearing his ring because I twisted the diamond engagement ring. Because I need time to protect myself. Good girl. Naomi pulled out her phone. I'm calling Damien. He's the best lawyer I know, and more importantly, he hates people like Roman. Damien arrived 40 minutes later, briefcase in hand, looking every bit the high-powered attorney in his tailored suit. He listened to the recording without comment. First things first, he said, pulling out a legal pad. We need to separate your assets. How much has Roman invested in your joint ventures? Nothing. I smiled thinly. He thinks he has, but I've been careful. Every investment was made with my money, through my companies. He just signed the papers. Damien's eyebrows shot up. Smart, but we need to make it airtight, create some shell companies, move your assets around, make it impossible for him to claim any ownership. I want more than protection, I said quietly. I want everything. Now you're talking? Naomi grinned. Damien leaned forward. Tell me what you need. Over the next few hours, we crafted a plan: shell companies, irrevocable trusts, carefully worded contracts, a maze of legal protection that would become a trap. The key, Damien explained, is to let him think he's winning. Men like Roman, they're so convinced of their own brilliance that they never read the fine print. I know someone else who might help, I said. Jason Meyer. Roman screwed him over in a tech venture last year. The software developer? Damien nodded. Good thinking. We'll need inside help. My phone buzzed. A text from Roman. Working late. Don't wait up. I showed it to Naomi, who checked her social media. Lacey just checked in at that new rooftop bar downtown. What a coincidence, I said dryly. You okay? Naomi touched my arm. I'm tired of being okay. I stood up, walking to her window. I'm tired of being the understanding one, the reasonable one, the one who gets stepped on because she's too nice to push back. Then don't be, Damien said simply. Be smarter, be patient. Let them think you're still that person while you build your case. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Lacey. Drinks tomorrow? Need to talk about your wedding. The audacity, Naomi muttered. I typed back, can't wait. Let's do lunch instead. Perfect timing, Damien said. I'll have the first set of papers ready by morning. We'll need documentation of every interaction. I'll help, Naomi offered. I can keep track of their meetings, their posts, everything. I hugged them both. Thank you. I know this isn't exactly ethical. Ethics? Damien snorted. They're planning to humiliate you publicly, steal your investments, and probably paint you as the villain in their love story. Ethics left the building a long time ago. Later that night, I sat in my home office scrolling through months of texts between Roman and Lacey. The flirtation was obvious now that I knew to look for it. The late night messages, the inside jokes, the subtle digs at me. You deserve better than settling, Lacey had written to him. Sometimes I think you know me better than she does, he replied. I forwarded everything to Damien, then locked my phone. Outside, the city glittered like broken glass, beautiful and sharp. Mother always said I was too soft for this world, too willing to bend, but some things, when bent too far, don't break. They snap back, and I was done bending. My phone lit up one last time. Roman again. Miss you. Can't wait to come home. I replied with a heart emoji, then silenced my phone. Let him think I was waiting, worried, wondering. Let them all think I was still the quiet, competent daughter who would never cause a scene. They'd learn soon enough. Silence could be deadly. Baby, this could be huge, Roman said, spreading documents across our dining table. A tech startup ready for acquisition. They just need capital, and we could triple our investment in 6 months. I leaned forward, examining the papers with what I hoped was wide eyed interest. It sounds amazing, but can we afford it? That's the thing. He grinned, reaching for my hand. If we use some of your trust fund money? Of course, I said quickly. Whatever you need. Behind his back, Jason Meyer caught my eye and gave a subtle nod. We'd staged this meeting perfectly, Jason playing the role of Roman's old friend with a hot investment tip. You're sure about this? Roman asked Jason. It's a gold mine waiting to happen, Jason replied smoothly. But we need to move fast. Other investors are circling. The startup was actually one of my shell companies, staffed with temporary employees and backed by carefully crafted financial records. Roman never bothered to verify anything beyond the surface. I'll transfer the money tomorrow, I promised, squeezing Roman's hand. Later that week, I met Jason at a quiet bar downtown. How's our investor doing? Strutting around like he discovered electricity. Jason smirked. He's already bragging to his golf buddies about his brilliant business acumen. Perfect. I slid him an envelope. Your consultation fee, as agreed. Jason said, pocketing the envelope. When you first approached me about this, I thought you were crazy. But watching Roman walk into his own trap, it's better than therapy. Speaking of traps, I checked my phone. Lacey just posted another casual photo at his office, third time this week. They're not exactly subtle, are they? They don't think they need to be. I showed him the latest text from my sister. Lunch tomorrow? Need your opinion on some things. Jason whistled low. The nerve of these people? Oh, it gets better. I pulled up my mother's recent message. Darling, we should discuss your prenup. Roman's making such wonderful investments, we need to protect everyone's interests. Your mother's a piece of work. She's about to be a masterpiece. I finished my drink. How's the employee exodus going? Right on schedule. Key people leaving Roman's legitimate companies citing management issues. His reputation's getting shaky in all the right circles. My phone buzzed. Roman again. Big meeting tomorrow. Might need to access more of your investment account. He's getting greedy, Jason observed. Let him. I typed back a quick reply. Whatever you need, honey. I trust you completely. The next day, I met Lacey for lunch at her favorite overpriced cafe. She was wearing a new designer dress, probably bought with Roman's credit card. You seem different lately, she said, studying me over her salad. More relaxed? Do I? I stirred my coffee. I guess I'm just excited about the wedding. Roman's been making such amazing business moves. He's brilliant that way, she agreed quickly. Too quickly. You're so lucky to have him. I know exactly how lucky I am. I smiled. Hey, would you help me pick out lingerie for the honeymoon next week? I want his jaw to drop. Lacey choked slightly on her water. Next week? I have a photo shoot. Please? You've always had better taste than me. Roman says so all the time. The flash of guilt across her face was almost too subtle to catch. Almost. That evening, I met with Damien to sign the final papers. Everything's in place, he confirmed. The moment Roman breaches trust by, say, getting engaged to someone else, all assets revert to you. The companies, the investments, everything. And the timing? Perfect. The startup will show signs of trouble right when you need it to. Jason's done an excellent job creating a paper trail. I signed the last document with a flourish. Now we wait. You know, Damien said, most people in your position would have confronted them by now, made a scene. Most people don't understand the value of patience. I checked my phone. Another text from Roman canceling dinner, another Instagram post from Lacey at his favorite restaurant. They're getting bolder, Damien observed. Good. I stood up, gathering my things. The bolder they get, the harder they'll fall. Walking home, I passed a billboard advertising engagement rings. For the perfect moment, it proclaimed in glittering letters. My phone buzzed one last time. Mother. Dinner tomorrow night? Roman has exciting news about the business. I typed back, can't wait to hear everything. The perfect moment was coming. Not with a bang or a scream, but with signatures on dotted lines and carefully laid trails of breadcrumbs. They thought they were writing a love story. They didn't realize they were signing their own ending. The engagement party was a masterclass in excess. Mother had transformed her backyard into a fairy tale wonderland, complete with crystal chandeliers hanging from tree branches and champagne fountains that probably cost more than most people's rent. I wore red, not the angry, obvious kind of red, a deep, luxurious burgundy that made me look expensive and dangerous. Naomi whistled when she saw me. Damn, cousin, you clean up nice. Had to dress for the occasion, I said, adjusting my diamond earrings, a gift from Roman last Christmas. Can't let the happy couple outshine everyone. We watched as Lacey twirled for the photographers, her white designer dress catching the light. Roman stood nearby, one hand possessively on her waist, playing the role of devoted fiancé perfectly. Oakley! Mother's voice carried across the garden. Darling, come say hello to everyone. I plastered on my best society smile and made my way through the crowd. The whispers followed me like perfume. That's the ex-fiancé. Can you believe she showed up? Poor thing, she must be devastated. Mother grabbed my arm, her nails digging in slightly. Everyone's been asking about you. I've been telling them how wonderfully you're handling everything. Have you? I sipped my champagne. How generous of you. Oakley, she hissed, don't start. This is Lacey's moment. When isn't it? Before she could respond, Roman appeared at my elbow. Can we talk? I followed him to a quiet corner of the garden. He looked uncomfortable in his expensive suit, tugging at his collar. You didn't have to come, he said softly. And miss all this? I gestured at the party. It's like a fairy tale, Roman. The handsome prince, the beautiful princess, the disposable first draft. It wasn't like that. We didn't plan. Please, I cut him off. Spare me the explanations. I'm here to celebrate, remember? You're taking this too well, he frowned. It's not like you. No? I smiled. Maybe you never knew what I was like. A commotion drew our attention. Lacey was opening presents, squealing over each designer item. Mother beamed proudly beside her. Your mother's thrilled, Roman observed. She always thought we'd make a better match, Lacey and I. Mother's usually wrong about important things. I touched his arm. But she was right about one thing. You deserve exactly what you're getting. He looked uncertain for a moment, but Lacey called him over before he could respond. I watched them pose for more photos, their smiles bright and brittle. You okay? Naomi appeared at my side with fresh drinks. Never better. I nodded toward a group of Roman's business associates. Watch this. I approached them, champagne in hand. George, Maria, how's the tech sector treating you? Oakley. George looked nervous. We were just discussing, um, Roman's new ventures? I smiled innocently. Fascinating stuff. Have you seen the latest projections? Maria shifted uncomfortably. Actually, we've been hearing some concerning rumors. Oh? I widened my eyes. About the startup acquisition? I'm sure it's nothing. Roman always knows what he's doing with other people's money. I left them whispering urgently among themselves. Naomi caught up with me, trying not to laugh. That was evil. That was just the appetizer. Lacey cornered me by the dessert table, her perfect makeup slightly smeared from crying over gifts. I can't believe you came. You're the best sister ever. Wouldn't miss it. I hugged her carefully. Nice ring, by the way, bigger than mine was. Oh, she flushed. Roman said he wanted something special. It's perfect for you. I touched the massive diamond. Just make sure you read the insurance policy carefully. Sometimes things that look solid aren't what they seem. Her smile faltered slightly. Before she could respond, Mother clinked her glass for attention. A toast, she announced, to the perfect couple. Roman, you've always been like a son to me, and now it's finally official. The crowd cheered. I raised my glass with the rest, catching Roman's eye across the garden. He looked away first. As the party wound down, I made my way to the exit. Mother intercepted me. Thank you for not making a scene, she said. I know this must be difficult. Nothing's difficult when you understand your role, I replied. You taught me that, remember? Always know your place? She frowned. Oakley. Good night, Mother. Lovely party. At the gate, I turned back one last time. Roman was watching me, his arm around Lacey, looking faintly troubled. You know everything you own is mine, right? I called out softly, just loud enough for him to hear. The confusion on his face was worth every second of waiting. In my car, I texted Damien, time to start phase 2. His reply came instantly. Papers are ready. Let the games begin. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. I was having coffee at my favorite cafe when Lacey burst in, mascara streaking down her face. What did you do? She demanded, slamming her designer purse on my table. The credit cards aren't working. I stirred my latte calmly. Which cards? All of them. Roman's cards, the joint account, everything. She collapsed into the chair opposite me. We were at the bridal boutique and they declined the payment for my dress. It was humiliating. How awful, I said, taking a sip. Have you called the bank? They said something about accounts being frozen pending investigation. She leaned forward. This has something to do with you, doesn't it? Why would I have anything to do with Roman's finances? Because you're jealous. You can't stand that he chose me instead of. Careful! I cut her off. You're making a scene. People are staring. She glanced around, suddenly aware of the other customers watching. Lacey had always hated being the wrong kind of spectacle. My phone buzzed. Roman calling. I let it go to voicemail. He's been trying to reach you all morning, Lacey said. I've been busy. I checked my watch. In fact, I have a meeting right now. Good luck with the dress situation. I was halfway to the door when she called out, Mother wants to see you tonight. I'm sure she does. The meeting was with Jason and Damien at the lawyer's office. Jason pulled up a series of spreadsheets on his laptop. It's happening faster than we expected, he reported. Roman's companies are hemorrhaging clients. The startup's stock is tanking. His investors are panicking. What about the employee exodus? I asked. 3 more executives resigned this morning. The press is starting to notice. Damien handed me a stack of papers. These just came in. Roman's trying to access emergency funds, but everything's locked down tight. My phone buzzed again. Mother this time. I answered on speaker. What have you done? She demanded without preamble. Hello to you too, Mother. Don't play games with me. Roman's beside himself. Something about contracts and missing signatures. Sounds serious, I said. Maybe he should have read the fine print. This is childish, Oakley. If you're trying to punish them, punish them? I laughed. Why would I do that? I'm celebrating their happiness, remember? Fix this, she hissed. Or You'll what? I cut her off. Tell everyone what a disappointment I am? How I'm not good enough? Save your breath, Mother. You've been saying that my whole life. I hung up. Jason whistled low. That felt good, he said. It did. I turned to Damien. Are we ready for the next phase? He nodded, pulling out another file. The cease and desist orders are prepared, and the forensic accountants have found some interesting irregularities in Roman's old business dealings. Anonymous tip to the financial press? Already done. Jason grinned. Should hit the news cycle tomorrow morning. My phone lit up with texts from Roman. We need to talk. Please answer your phone. This isn't funny anymore. What did you do to my accounts? I showed them to Damien, who smirked. Should I send him the paperwork now? Not yet. Let him sweat a little longer. That evening, I met Naomi for dinner. She had news from her social circle. Lacey's bridesmaids are jumping ship, she reported gleefully. Apparently, she couldn't pay for their dresses, and now they're questioning her judgment in this whole situation. How tragic. Oh, and Roman's country club membership got suspended. Something about bounced checks. My phone buzzed again. Lacey had posted on Instagram, sometimes life tests your strength, but true love conquers all. Blessed drag wedding planning. The comments were brutal. Didn't you steal your sister's fiance? Heard Romans broke Lowell. Karma's real. Should we feel bad? Naomi asked, reading over my shoulder. Do they feel bad? Point taken. Just then, Roman himself stormed into the restaurant. He looked disheveled, his usual polished appearance cracking at the edges. We need to talk, he demanded. Now? I dabbed my lips with the napkin. I'm having dinner. The startup's tanking. My investors are pulling out. What did you do? Sounds like bad luck, I said. Markets can be so unpredictable. This isn't a game, Oakley. No, I agreed, standing up. It's not. Games are fun. This is business. I gathered my purse. Oh, and Roman, check your email. Damien's sending you some interesting documents. I left him standing there, his world crumbling, piece by carefully orchestrated piece. Outside, the evening news ticker on a building displayed the headline, Tech Entrepreneur Under Investigation, Fraud Allegations Surface. Perfect timing. The Plaza Hotel canceled Lacey's dream wedding on a rainy Thursday morning. I watched it unfold through a series of increasingly hysterical social media posts. This can't be happening. Lacey, 9:15 a.m. Someone please tell me this is a mistake. Lacey, 9:45 a.m. Who would do this to us? Lacey, 10:30 m. Mother showed up at my office unannounced around noon. She'd aged 10 years in the past week, her perfect blonde highlights now showing dark roots. Enough, she said, closing my office door. Name your price. I looked up from my computer. For what? To stop this vendetta, whatever you want, money, property, public apology, just tell me. Sit down, Mother. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Let's talk about karma. Karma? She scoffed. This isn't karma. This is calculated destruction. Like the kind you've been inflicting on me my entire life? I pulled out my phone, played a recording. Oakley's always been the weak one. Mother's voice filled the room. Thank God Lacey has the spine to take what she wants. Her face went pale. Where did you get that? I have years of recordings, Mother. Every backhanded compliment, every manipulation, every time you pitted us against each other. You wouldn't dare. I already have. I turned my monitor to show her the blog post going viral. Anonymous source reveals toxic family dynamics behind tech scandal. Want to read the comments? Her hands shook as she reached for her phone. This will destroy us. No, I corrected. This will expose you. There's a difference. Your sister's wedding is canceled, just like mine was supposed to be. I stood up. But don't worry, I'm sure Roman will do the right thing. He's good at that, isn't he? As if on cue, my phone buzzed with breaking news. Ortiz Tech CEO steps down amid fraud investigation. Mother's phone rang. Lacey, probably. She answered on speaker. Mom, Lacey was sobbing. Roman's gone. He's not answering his phone, and his office is empty. And breathe, darling, Mother said. Where are you? At his apartment. Everything's gone. There's just a note saying he's sorry and he'll fix this somehow. And she hiccuped. The ring is gone too. I couldn't help but laugh. Mother shot me a venomous look. Stay there, she told Lacey. I'm coming. She turned to me. Are you happy now? Almost. I pressed a button on my desk phone. Send them in, please. Damien walked in with 2 police officers. Mrs. Brooks, one officer said, we have some questions about your involvement in certain financial transactions. Mother's face went from pale to gray. What transactions? The ones where you helped Roman move money through offshore accounts, Damien supplied helpfully. Very illegal, by the way. I never, she started. We have the paperwork, Damien cut in. All signed by you. Remember those documents you didn't bother reading last month? The ones about Lacey's trust fund? Mother sank into the chair. You set us up. No, I corrected. I just gave you enough rope to hang yourselves. The officers stepped forward. Ma'am, we'll need you to come with us. As they led her out, my phone lit up with messages from Naomi. Holy shit, Roman just tried to board a private jet. Police got him at the airport. Lacey's having a meltdown on Instagram Live, I texted back. Watch the news in an hour. Right on schedule, the story broke across all major networks. Tech empire collapse, CEO arrested, family implicated in fraud scheme. Jason appeared in my doorway, grinning. Want to see something beautiful? He held up his tablet. The startup company's stock had flatlined. Roman's legitimate companies were declaring bankruptcy, and there in my investment accounts, every dollar I'd ever put in was safely returned, with interest. You know what the best part is? Jason said. They're all blaming each other. Roman's telling police it was your mother's idea. Your mother's claiming Lacey masterminded it. And Lacey, well, she's telling anyone who'll listen that she's the real victim. Perfect. I checked my watch. Time for phase 3? Already in motion. The tabloids are fighting over who gets the exclusive tell-all. I picked up my coat. Then my work here is done. Where are you going? To have a drink with my cousin. We're celebrating. Outside, reporters were gathering at the building entrance. I slipped out the back, texting Naomi to meet me at our usual spot. The rain had stopped, leaving the city streets gleaming like new money. Somewhere across town, my sister was learning what it felt like to lose everything. My mother was explaining herself to federal agents. And Roman was finally facing the consequences of his actions. They'd wanted a fairy tale. Instead, they got a lesson in karma. And I got my revenge served exactly the way I liked it, cold, calculated, and completely justified. He did what? I stared at Damien across his desk, holding the forged document Roman's lawyers had just submitted to the court. Tried to frame you for embezzlement, Damien confirmed, looking more amused than concerned. Claims you were the mastermind behind everything, using his companies as fronts for money laundering. Bold strategy for a man in custody. Desperate men make desperate choices. He pulled out another folder. Fortunately, we planned for this. The door opened and Jason walked in with a USB drive. Got the security footage you asked for. Every meeting Roman had with your mother, time-stamped and backed up. And the bank records? All here. He plugged in the drive. Every transaction, every signature, every sketchy deal he made while thinking he was untouchable. My phone buzzed. A text from Naomi. Heads up. Layla Sherman from the Daily Post is sniffing around. Says Roman gave her a juicy story about you. Layla Sherman, the tabloid journalist who'd made a career out of destroying reputations. I showed the text to Damien. Perfect timing, he said. Should we show her what a real story looks like? I nodded. Set up the meeting. 2 hours later, I sat across from Layla in a private room at the Four Seasons. She looked exactly like her byline photo, sharp eyes, sharper smile, and the hungry look of someone who lived for scandal. So, she began, Roman tells an interesting tale about you. I'm sure he does. I slid a folder across the table. But here's a better one. She opened it, her eyes widening as she read. These are real? Every document, every recording, every piece of evidence showing exactly how Roman, my mother, and my sister orchestrated their little scheme. And you just let them? I let them think they were winning. I pulled out my phone, played one of the recordings. Roman's voice filled the room, bragging about how he'd used my money to build his empire, then dump me for Lacey. Layla's fingers twitched toward her recorder. May I? That's why you're here. For the next hour, I gave her everything: the paper trail, the recordings, the photographs, the story of a woman everyone underestimated, turning the tables on those who tried to destroy her. This isn't just revenge, Layla said finally. This is architectural. You built this trap piece by piece. Sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous. She sat back, studying me. You know what the best part is? You never actually did anything illegal. You just let them implicate themselves. Karma needs a little help sometimes. My phone buzzed, a message from the district attorney's office. Roman's attempt to frame me had backfired spectacularly. The evidence I'd provided had sealed his fate. He's pleading guilty, I told Layla. Full confession. What about your mother and sister? Mother's facing charges for financial conspiracy. Lacey? I shrugged. She's learning that actions have consequences. Layla packed up her notes. This story goes to print tomorrow. Any last comments? Just one. Never mistake kindness for weakness. The next morning, the Daily Post's headline read, The Perfect Revenge: How One Woman Outsmarted a Corporate Conspiracy. The story went viral within hours. My phone exploded with messages. OMG, did you see this? Naomi. Holy shit, you're trending. Jason, we need to talk. Mother's lawyer. Please, I'm sorry. Lacey. I ignored them all, walking into the federal courthouse where Roman's plea hearing was scheduled. He looked small in his orange jumpsuit, nothing like the confident CEO who'd thought he could take everything from me. Ms. Brooks, his lawyer approached nervously. My client would like to speak with you. No need. I sat in the back row. I'm just here to watch. Roman turned, saw me sitting there. His face went through a range of emotions: anger, fear, finally settling on defeat. The judge entered. Roman stood, pleaded guilty to multiple counts of fraud and financial conspiracy. When asked if he had anything to say, he looked back at me one last time. I underestimated her, he said simply. We all did. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. I gave them one statement. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone, it's about letting them destroy themselves. Back at my office, Damien waited with a bottle of champagne. To justice, he toasted. To karma, I corrected. My phone buzzed one final time. Layla again. Follow up story? People are fascinated by you. I texted back. No need. Some victories speak for themselves. Looking out my office window at the city below, I thought about all the quiet, competent women who'd been underestimated, overshadowed, pushed aside. Maybe my story would remind them silence doesn't mean surrender. Sometimes it means you're planning something spectacular. And revenge, when served with precision, tastes better than any wedding cake ever could. The for sale sign in front of my childhood home looked almost apologetic. I parked in the circular driveway one last time, using the key Mother's lawyers had provided to let myself in. The grand foyer echoed with emptiness. No more crystal vases, no designer furniture, no carefully curated family photos showing our perfect facade. Just dust and memories and the weight of what remained. My phone buzzed. Naomi. You sure you want to do this alone? Need to. I texted back. Some ghosts you have to face by yourself. I climbed the sweeping staircase, trailing my hand along the banister where Lacey and I used to slide as kids, before competition replaced connection, before mothers' manipulation turned sisters into rivals. My old bedroom was at the end of the hall. The walls were still that soft blue I'd chosen at 13, the only time Mother had let me make a decision about anything. I thought I'd find you here. I turned. Lacey stood in the doorway, looking smaller without her designer clothes and perfect makeup. She'd taken a job at a department store downtown. I'd heard through Naomi, but hadn't seen for myself until now. How did you get in? I asked. Still have my key. She stepped inside cautiously. I've been coming here, trying to understand everything. And? And I'm sorry. The words tumbled out. I know it's not enough, but I'm sorry. For Roman, for letting Mother pit us against each other, for being exactly the person you think I am. I don't think anything about you anymore, Lacey. She flinched. That's fair. I miss my sister. Which sister? I turned to face her fully. The one you betrayed or the one you pretended didn't matter? Both. Neither. She slid down the wall to sit on the floor. I don't even know who I am without Mother's voice in my head telling me I'm special, telling me I deserve everything, even if it belonged to someone else. I stayed silent, watching her struggle with truths she'd avoided her whole life. Did you know? She continued. At the store, people are just nice. No agenda, no competition. My manager actually praised me for helping a customer find the perfect dress, not for stealing it from someone else, just for helping. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of something. Not forgiveness, exactly, but understanding. Growth looks good on you, I said finally. She looked up, tears streaking her mascara. Is there is there any way we could? No, I cut her off gently. Some bridges stay burned, but maybe we can build different ones. My phone buzzed again. Damien this time. Nonprofit paperwork is ready. When you're done with the house, come sign. What nonprofit? Lacey asked, seeing my small smile. Supporting women leaving toxic family situations. I walked to the window, helping them find their voice, their strength. That's that's good. She stood up shakily. Mother would hate it. Mother has time to think about a lot of things now. We stood in silence, watching the sunset paint the empty room in shades of gold. Finally, Lacey spoke again. Roman writes to me sometimes from prison, still blaming everyone else. Some people never learn. I did. She moved toward the door. Too late, but I did. After she left, I pulled out the envelope I'd brought. Inside was a letter I'd written to my younger self, the one who thought being quiet meant being weak. I tucked it into a loose panel in the wall, a time capsule for whoever owned this room next. Downstairs, I took one last look around. The house that had once seemed like a fortress now looked like what it was, just walls and windows, no match for the strength of a woman who'd finally found her power. My phone lit up with a text from Jason. Damien told me about the nonprofit. Need a tech consultant? Always, I replied. Someone needs to teach these women how to protect their assets. Outside, the for sale sign caught the last rays of sunlight. I touched it gently, remembering Mother's words. This house is our legacy. She was wrong. Legacy isn't about buildings or bank accounts or keeping up appearances. It's about the stories we leave behind, the strength we share, the chains we break. I got in my car, took one last look at the house that had shaped so much of my life. Then I drove away, leaving the ghosts of who we'd been to fade with the setting sun. My phone buzzed one final time, a message from an unknown number. Thank you for sharing your story. I left my toxic family today. You showed me how. Sometimes revenge isn't just about settling scores. Sometimes it's about showing others they can write their own endings. And mine? It was just beginning.
I'm sorry, but we have already left. While I was in the bathroom at the rest stop, I got a call from Larry. I was curious about what he wanted at such a time. When I answered the call, I heard Larry and his in-laws laughing loudly. What's going on? I asked. He told me something shocking. We're going to have fun with the family. You can go back home and clean or something. I had been really looking forward to this trip because it had been a long time since our last one. Even though I had doubts about traveling with his family, I was excited to stay at a fancy inn. I can't believe he left me alone at a rest stop. Standing inside the bathroom stall, I felt deeply betrayed and shook with anger. Still, I managed to say okay quietly. It's unforgivable. Today was not only our wedding anniversary but also my birthday, and we came on this trip for that. I'll make him regret this. My name is Linda Harrison. I'm a 36-year-old housewife. I don't have any children and live with my husband, Larry. We got married exactly 1 year ago on my birthday. Larry is romantic and has always made a big deal of our anniversaries and birthdays. Growing up, he was treated to fancy dinners, trips abroad, and cruises for his birthdays. It seems those childhood memories have stayed with him because he loves celebrating special days in a big way. Now that we're married, Larry's family is wealthy. His father is the CEO of Harrison Securities. My mother-in-law has fully embraced the wealthy lifestyle, and Larry, as the heir to the company, sometimes acts a bit spoiled. But I married him because I knew he cherished me. We met at a matchmaking agency where men from wealthy families like Larry were popular. I almost gave up on finding someone there. When I met him, I was lucky because I seemed to be his type, which led to our marriage. It might have helped that I wasn't just looking for someone rich. I had always dreamed of getting married, and I was thrilled when it happened. But I didn't know that after getting married, my life would start to get tough. A year ago, Larry and I started our married life in a one-bedroom apartment in the city. Larry wanted a bigger house, but I didn't think it was necessary since it was just the two of us. I suggested we live within our means for now, and we could always move later. Even though we were in the city, our rent was expensive at $2,300. As a housewife, this made me feel guilty. "Don't worry about it, my dad will handle it," Larry said. Although he was the heir and worked at Harrison Securities, I thought there should be some fairness with other employees. I wondered if it was really okay, but the next month, his salary went up by $800. "Your dad's amazing to be able to increase your salary just like that," I said. "It was time for a raise anyway. I won't let you face any hardships, Linda. Count on me," Larry replied. Even though Larry relied on his father's influence for money, I felt thankful for the raise and didn't argue. "By the way, I'm having dinner with my parents tonight," he added suddenly. "Is it like a business dinner?" "No, just a family dinner. I think I'll be back by 12. Take care." I was surprised. Even after marrying me, Larry casually mentioned having dinner with his parents on a regular evening. Caught off guard, I watched him say he should get going and then leave the house. Dinner on a weekday? Well, today is Friday after all. I hadn't heard about Larry planning to have dinner with his in-laws. Usually, as his wife, I'd be invited too. Not that I wanted a free meal, but it's important to build a good relationship with one's in-laws. I couldn't understand Larry's actions and started feeling unsure about our married life. After that dinner incident, Larry often went to his parents' house for reasons like, "It's my cousin's birthday," or "Mom asked me to come over." As a first-time bride, I just agreed, thinking this was normal. But when I had dinner with a friend one day and Larry was absent, she was surprised. "He goes home that often and leaves you alone for a cousin's birthday." "That's crazy," she said. She had been married for 6 years and knew more about married life than I did. Realizing that her reaction was normal, I felt embarrassed. "You're right, it's weird, but Larry says it's normal." "Seriously, don't take this the wrong way, but hasn't he really grown up yet?" she commented. Her words made me think. It's unusual for a 38-year-old, even one set to take over his dad's business, to prioritize family matters so much after getting married. I regretted not seeing Larry's true nature before marrying him. Returning home after dinner with my friend, I felt sad. "I'm home, Linda. Where have you been? Isn't it normal for a wife to cook dinner and wait for her husband, Mrs. Harrison?" To my surprise, my mother-in-law was in the living room. Larry was out, maybe at a convenience store. "Why are you here? Weren't you and Larry supposed to dine out tonight?" I asked. "That got canceled because of some issue at the restaurant. I thought Larry had messaged you just a bit ago." "Didn't you check?" she pointed out. I checked my phone and indeed, 22 minutes ago, Larry had messaged that he'd be home early, but I had just gotten off the train. There was no way I could have gotten home and started dinner so quickly. "Yes, he did message, but I only saw it just now." What the heck? This is the problem with kids from single-parent households. "You can tell they weren't raised right," my mother-in-law said harshly. Her words hurt me deeply. Indeed, I was raised by a single mother after my mom gave birth to me, and my father passed away due to an illness. Despite that, my mother raised me with a lot of love. I wished she wouldn't say things that put down my mother's hard work. It has nothing to do with being raised by a single parent. I just hadn't seen the message yet. I replied, clearly annoyed, but she ignored my comment and changed the subject. Well, anyway, I've always thought this, but your house is quite small. I think it's average. It's just right for the two of us. You can't be serious. I feel sorry for Larry living in such a cramped space. My interactions with my mother-in-law continued to stress me out. Both my mother-in-law and father-in-law, maybe because they are wealthy, often seem to look down on others. That's why I never got along with them. Realizing that further conversation was pointless, I silently started to make dinner. Ignoring me, she turned on the TV. From that day, she started coming over unexpectedly more often, and even my father-in-law came a few times. Mostly, they complained about how dirty the kitchen was or how small the house felt. Eventually, they would sarcastically suggest, "You know we have a bigger house. Why not move in?" I definitely didn't want that and declined every time. They always visited when Larry wasn't home, so he didn't hear their rude remarks. I once talked to him about it, but he replied, "Why not? Why is living together a bad idea?" I was upset by his response. From then on, I realized there was no point in discussing it with Larry, and I just put up with it on my own. Soon we would be celebrating our first wedding anniversary, which was also my birthday. For your birthday this weekend, I'm thinking of celebrating bigger than last year. After all, it's also our anniversary, Larry said, coming home tipsy from work. Seeing his flushed face, I wasn't sure he meant it. Knowing he liked big celebrations, I felt a bit excited. Last year, you treated me to a delicious dinner, which was more than enough. That's nothing compared to what I've planned. Let's go on a family trip. A family trip? The term sounded odd just for the two of us. Noticing my confusion, Larry continued, "My parents, cousins, Uncle Scenes, and all will join. We're heading to a luxury resort in Oceanside." All those people? And why Oceanside? Do you have a problem with a family trip, or is it Oceanside you're not keen on? No, it's not that, honestly. I couldn't understand why my birthday and our anniversary had to involve Larry's family, who weren't part of these occasions. I knew Larry was a bit out of touch, but I didn't expect such a strange idea. Although the choice of Oceanside confused me a little, it wasn't a big deal. Sounds fun, right, Linda? Sometimes you've got to let loose and have fun, Larry said, a bit drunk, as he grabbed my shoulders. I found myself agreeing with him. Over the next week, I couldn't stop thinking about the trip. At first, I was unsure about going with his whole family, but as Larry said, it was a rare vacation, and I decided to make the most of it. As I prepared for the trip, I started to feel excited, and I found myself genuinely smiling. I knew my in-laws would probably make their usual rude remarks, but I decided to ignore them completely. Finally, the awaited Saturday came, and Larry and I went to his parents' house, our meeting point for the trip. "Well, Linda, you're late, aren't you? Do you even realize you're the star today?" my mother-in-law said sharply in front of everyone. But knowing I was supposed to be the focus helped soften her words a little. "I'm sorry, there was traffic," I replied. "Excuses won't do. We should leave soon. Otherwise, we'll be late to our luxury resort." All right, let's get going," I said. Despite their complaints about us being late, it was bearable. After all, they had been making such comments all year. Larry's cousin, who looked much younger than him and had a mean look in his eyes, made me wonder if everyone in the family was mean-spirited. My worry seemed justified when he made a demeaning remark. "This is Larry's wife?" Not what I expected. I looked away from him, figuring that reacting would only encourage them to criticize me more. I decided to act maturely. "I'm so excited. I've been to luxury resorts many times, but tonight's place costs $2,000 per person," I heard someone say. Hearing the price of $22,000 shocked me, and a sudden thought crossed my mind. I got into my in-laws' car, and as soon as my father-in-law started the car, we began moving. The drive to our destination in Oceanside would take about 3 hours. About an hour into our journey, we decided to take a short break at the next rest stop. "I'll be right back, heading to the restroom," I said. "All right, off you go," my mother-in-law waved dismissively, almost like shooing away a stray dog. I walked to the rest stop bathroom, feeling as if everyone's eyes were on me, or maybe it was just my imagination. Inside the bathroom stall, I took a deep breath, relieved that the trip had been uneventful so far. I hoped the rest of our journey would be just as smooth. Just as I was settling into that thought, my phone vibrated in my pocket. It was Larry calling. Expecting him to ask me to pick something up, I answered casually, "I'm still in the restroom, Larry." With what sounded like amusement, he replied, accompanied by the laughter of my mother-in-law, "Sorry, but we've already left." There was a moment of stunned silence on my end while laughter echoed from their side. "What do you mean?" I asked. Larry replied, "We're going to have fun with our family. You should just go home and clean, Linda dear. Today's trip is just for the Harrison family. It's a pity, but you'll have to stay behind. Goodbye." I was stunned. I had been looking forward to this trip for a long time. Having his family join us was a bit concerning, but I was excited about staying at a luxury hotel, and now they had left me alone at the rest area. I was shaking inside the restroom stall, feeling completely betrayed. Trying to keep my anger in check, I simply replied with a quiet "okay." This was unforgivable. Today was both our wedding anniversary and my birthday, and they had brought me on this trip. I was determined to make them regret this. After leaving the restroom, I called someone. The person on the other end was shocked and shared some surprising news. "Really?" I asked. "Yes," they answered. Then they promised to come and pick me up. Being left alone at the rest area like this was unbearable. I prayed for a quick rescue. An hour later, my Uncle Scene arrived in his car to pick me up. "I'm so sorry to trouble you like this," I said. "It's okay, it's quite an unfortunate situation," he replied. "Yes, they're headed to a luxury hotel in Oceanside," I mentioned. My Uncle Scene thought for a moment, then seemed to realize something. "I think that's the case," I replied. "I'm really sorry, but can you please take me there? I'll take the train back." "Got it. The drive there is nice anyway," my Uncle Scene agreed happily. About an hour later, we arrived in Oceanside. Larry and the others had come here before us. In front of us was a luxurious inn with a grand gate, a well-known high-end hotel, the only luxury accommodation I knew of that costs $2,000 a night. At the reception, I was told, "Dinner starts at 6:00 p.m. Please follow me." The person who greeted me with a smile was my mother. "Linda, it's been a while," she said. Dressed in an elegant outfit and smiling gracefully in a way that might seem formal to others, it was unmistakably my mother. This inn has been run by my mother's family for many years, and she currently holds the position of the innkeeper. After becoming a single mother, she began working at this inn. So to me, this place feels like home. I had called my mother from the rest area and was surprised to learn that there was a reservation today from Harrison Securities. I suspected they were going to a luxury hotel in Oceanside, but I never imagined they would be coming to the inn my mother runs. Of course, the family doesn't know that my mother manages this inn. "What a terrible story, Linda. You can't just let this slide," my mom said. "Yeah, I know. That's why I came here," I replied. "Let's get you changed over here," she suggested as I prepared to greet them at the dinner table. An hour later, at 7:00 p.m., my in-law family gathered for dinner. I stayed in the next room to remain unnoticed, slightly opening the door to observe inside. The spa was amazing. I'd want to come here every day if I could. If it were closer, we could indeed come every day, one of them said. At the very least, if you become the CDO, we could afford to come here anytime, another added. Really, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, the subordinates handle all the work anyway. I want to become a CEO soon too, Larry added, thinking they were just among themselves, making some rather crude remarks. But when my mother appeared from the other side of the door and greeted them, the room went silent. Today, I will be in charge of serving you. Please let me know if you need anything, my mom said, bowing with perfect grace. There was a tangible tension among the family. However, when the food was served, they resumed their inappropriate discussions. Both my mother and I did nothing, simply watching as the plates emptied before them. It's great that we all could come. We got rid of the bothersome daughter-in-law, and the food is delicious. Perfect, one remarked. If you say that, she might get angry, you know, another cautioned. It's fine, she's not really one of us. To be honest, she never was. After all, it would be a shame to have a child from a single-parent family in our household, my mother-in-law said harshly. Hearing her mother-in-law's harsh words, my frustration boiled to an almost uncontrollable point. At that very moment, my mother entered the room with a dessert plate loaded with cake and fruit. Today, I've heard it's Miss Linda's birthday and also her wedding anniversary with her husband. When my mother asked where to place the cake for Miss Linda, the family looked at each other, confused. Nobody told you that, they mumbled. Excuse me, I'm the innkeeper, and I've clearly heard about it. Did Larry call? I didn't tell anyone, Larry muttered. There was an awkward silence, and the in-laws exchanged nervous glances. Finally, the mother-in-law raised her hand. I am Linda, she said, embarrassed. I was too embarrassed to mention it at my age, but thank you all for the surprise. Given that the only woman in the room was the mother-in-law, her reaction seemed appropriate. However, my mother just gave a faint smile, seeing her act. Hey, what's so funny? Is it strange to be surprised at my age? The mother-in-law asked. No, not at all. I wasn't thinking that, my mother replied. Then just bring the cake already, the mother-in-law demanded. Yes, but before that, there's something I'd like to share, my mother said calmly. I took a deep breath. Linda Harrison is my daughter. Everyone in the room looked shocked and raised their voices in surprise. Seeing an opportunity, I quickly opened the door from the adjacent room and stood next to my mother. Welcome, this innkeeper is my mother. It's a pleasure to meet you, I said. Larry exclaimed, Linda, why are you here? And what do you mean she's your mother? It means exactly that. This inn belongs to my family, and I also intend to take over this place someday, I explained. In truth, Larry had never met my mother before. Part of it was because my mother was busy with the inn, and Larry and his parents also insisted on not meeting her face to face. Larry had called me for our wedding introduction, but he never met her in person. I showed my mother a picture of Larry and explained who he was. It was an unconventional introduction, but I believed my mother had accepted him. From your earlier conversations, could you please refrain from mocking and belittling my mother for being a single parent? I asked. We just stated the facts, they replied. What's with the sudden drama? What grudge do you have against us? They continued. Neither Larry nor his mother nor anyone else seemed to realize the extent of the disrespect they had shown me. I was exasperated. I let out all the anger I had been holding back. If I have any grudges, it starts with you, Larry. I thought you were a good person when we got married, but it turns out you're too attached to your mom. You married me, so you should put me first, right? Don't team up with your parents to make fun of me. Larry was speechless, unable to argue against my points. My mother listened quietly to my outburst. Turning to my in-laws, I asked, why do you treat me this way? If I'm such a nuisance, I can leave the Harrison family right now. You'll become a lonely, poor single woman, yeah? Are you sure about being alone? Both the mother-in-law and Larry sneered. Looking between my mother and me, I stared back firmly. It's okay, actually. I'm pregnant, so I won't be lonely. And if I inherit this inn, I won't have any financial worries. The truth was, I found out I was pregnant last week and hadn't told Larry yet. Only my mother knew, which is why she wasn't surprised. A child? What are you talking about? I haven't heard about this, Larry said, confused. Wait, Linda, if that's the case, it changes things. You should have told us sooner. Upon learning I was pregnant, the family immediately changed their attitude. I couldn't stand their unreliable and unreasonable behavior any longer and shouted again, no, my decision is final. Let's proceed with the divorce through lawyers. I will live happily with my child and my mother. Saying this, I opened the door to the hall they were in and left. The door slammed shut loudly. I'm done with this. My child will be happier without that family. Whether they tried to change my mind or not, I received over 45 calls a day from Larry and his parents. Eventually, I blocked all their numbers. A few days later, I received a letter from Larry informing me of our official divorce. The letter expressed his regret and pleaded for me to return, but I ignored it and tore it up. I thought he might neglect our child just like he prioritized his parents over me, and I absolutely didn't want that. Being alone and lonely will be your fate, not mine, I thought. He should enjoy his bachelor life. Currently, I am nurturing my child in my womb and discussing future plans with my mother. Once the child is born and grows a bit, I plan to send them to daycare and join the hen's business. The path to becoming the next innkeeper is long, but I'm determined to work hard to raise my child properly.